Have you ever sat in a quiet room, only to find that it is the loudest place in the world? The silence outside only amplifies the noise inside. The endless chatter of the mind, the list of things to do, the replay of conversations you wish had gone differently, the worry about a future that has not yet arrived, the weight of a past you cannot change. Our world celebrates noise. It rewards speed. It demands our constant attention. Your phone buzzes, an email arrives, the news cycle screams, and in the middle of it all is you, a consciousness, trying to find a quiet corner, a moment of peace. You are not alone in this feeling. This sense of being overwhelmed is a shared human experience in our modern age. We seek escape in distraction, in entertainment, in more noise. But what if the true escape is not an escape at all? What if it is a journey inward? What if the deepest peace you are searching for is already within you, buried beneath the noise? For the next 3 hours, I invite you to give yourself a gift, the gift of silence, the gift of stillness, the gift of your own undivided attention. This is your personal silent retreat. There is nowhere else to be, nothing else to do, no one you need to be. You don't need any special equipment. You don't need any previous experience. All you need is a willingness to sit, to breathe, and to be present. We will journey together through the initial restlessness, through the difficult emotions, through the profound insights that can only arise from true silence. This is not about emptying your mind. That is a myth. This is about learning to sit with your mind exactly as it is, to watch it, to understand it, and to befriend it. This is the path of Zen, simple, direct, and profoundly transformative. 1. Arriving in the body. Before we can begin the subtle work of observing the mind, before we can untangle the knots of worry and fear, we must first perform the most fundamental and radical act. We must come home. Home to the only place we ever truly live, our own body. In our modern world, we have become ghosts in our own houses. We live from the neck up, our consciousness floating in a digital cloud of information, screens, and abstract thought. We think about our bodies, we judge them, we command them to move, but we so rarely simply inhabit them. We have forgotten what it feels like to be here. So, this first step of our retreat is an act of homecoming, an invitation to land, to gently descend from the noisy attic of the mind and into the quiet, warm living rooms of the body. There is no need to rush this process. There is nowhere to get to. The journey is the destination. The destination is here. Now, let us begin by finding our seat. This seat is your throne of awakening for the next 3 hours. Choose a place where you can be relatively undisturbed. It could be a simple cushion on the floor in the traditional meditation posture, or it could be a comfortable chair. Do not concern yourself with creating a perfect image of a meditator. The perfect posture is one that allows you to be both alert and relaxed. We are aiming for a sense of dignity, not stiffness. If you are in a chair, allow your feet to rest flat on the floor. Feel the solid ground beneath them. This is your connection to the earth. If you are on a cushion, feel the stability of your legs creating a firm base. Now, let your awareness travel up your spine. Imagine your spine as a noble stalk of bamboo, or a string of pearls being gently pulled upward from the crown of your head. The spine should be upright, creating space between the vertebrae, but not rigid. We are not soldiers on parade, we are mountains. A mountain is majestic, solid, and unmovable, yet it is not tense. It simply is. Let your posture embody this mountain-like quality. Allow your hands to find a natural resting place, perhaps on your knees or in your lap, one hand resting in the other, thumbs gently touching. This gesture can create a sense of completeness, of energy contained. Let your shoulders, which so often carry the weight of our responsibilities, finally relax. Let them drop down and away from your ears. Feel the release of tension. You may need to do this several times. Gently roll them up towards your ears and then let them fall with an exhale. Let them go. Bring your awareness to your jaw. This is another place we hold immense, unconscious tension. Gently, allow your teeth to part slightly. Let your tongue rest softly in the bottom of your mouth. Soften the entire geography of your face, the muscles around your eyes, the space between your eyebrows. Let it all go smooth. Your eyes can be gently closed, or if you prefer, you can leave them open with a soft, unfocused gaze directed a few feet in front of you on the floor. The aim is simply to reduce visual distraction. Take a moment now to scan your body and notice any areas of significant discomfort. If there is pain, see if a small adjustment can relieve it. A cushion for your back, a slight shift in your hips. This is an act of kindness to yourself. We are not here to torture the body. We are here to befriend it. Once you have found your posture, make a gentle commitment to stillness, not a rigid, fearful stillness, but a stillness of gentle resolve. Now, let us deepen our arrival. Bring your full attention to the physical sensations of your body sitting here. Start with the points of contact. Feel the precise sensation of the floor against your feet, the texture of your socks, or the coolness of the wood. Feel the weight of your body pressing down into the chair or the cushion. Do not just think about it, feel it. Feel the pull of gravity, this constant, faithful force that holds you to the earth. For a moment, just rest in this sensation of being supported. You don't have to hold yourself up. You can let go. You can allow the structure of your bones to do the work. You can allow the earth to hold you. You are safe. You are held. Let this feeling of being grounded spread throughout your body. Imagine roots growing down from the base of your spine, deep into the earth, drawing up stability and calm. You are a tree. The winds of thought may blow through your branches later, but for now, you are rooted, solid, present. From this foundation of stillness and groundedness, we now turn our attention to the most intimate and constant companion we have, the breath. For this entire retreat, the breath will be our anchor. An anchor does not stop the ocean from moving. It simply keeps the boat from drifting away into the vast, open sea. Likewise, the breath does not stop the mind from thinking. It simply gives us a safe harbor to return to when we notice we have drifted away. So, let's find the breath. Don't try to change it. Don't try to control it. Simply allow your awareness to rest on its natural rhythm. You might notice it most vividly at the tip of your nostrils. A subtle coolness as the air enters. A subtle warmth as the air leaves, in and out. You might find it easier to feel the breath as the gentle rise and fall of your chest. Or perhaps you feel it most deeply in your abdomen, in your belly. A gentle expansion on the inhale, a soft release on the exhale. There is no right or wrong place to feel it. Simply choose the location where the sensation is most clear for you right now and let your attention rest there. This simple rhythm has been with you since the moment of your birth and will be with you until the moment of your death. It is the rhythm of life itself. It asks nothing of you. It simply is. For these next few moments, let this be your entire universe. The cool air entering, the warm air leaving, the gentle rise, the gentle fall. Inevitably, your mind will wander. This is not a mistake. This is not a sign that you are failing. It is simply the nature of the mind. The mind produces thoughts just as the heart beats. It is its job. A memory may arise. A plan for tomorrow may pop up. A worry, a fantasy. When you notice that your attention is no longer on the breath, that is the moment of magic. That moment of noticing, "Ah, I have been thinking," is a moment of mindfulness. It is a tiny awakening. In that moment, the practice is to be incredibly kind to yourself. Imagine you are training a small, beloved puppy. When the puppy wanders off, you do not shout at it or punish it. You would break its spirit. Instead, you gently, patiently, and with love, call its name and lead it back to where you want it to be. Treat your mind with this same boundless patience. Acknowledge the thought. You might even give it a soft, silent label, thinking, or worrying, or planning. And then, as if taking your mind gently by the hand, you guide it back. Back to the coolness at the nostrils, back to the rise and fall of the abdomen, over and over again, 1,000 times. This is the practice. The goal is not to have a mind free from thought. The goal is to cultivate a mind that is aware of its thoughts and is no longer swept away by them. Each time you return to the breath, you are strengthening the muscle of awareness. You are carving a new neural pathway in your brain, a pathway of presence, a pathway of peace. There is nothing to achieve here. Let go of any idea of success or failure. Let go of wanting some special experience. The experience of this breath, right now, is special enough. The feeling of your body, right now, is the miracle. To simply arrive in your own body, to feel your own breath, is an act of profound self-love in a world that is always demanding that you be somewhere else. For these next few moments, give yourself this gift. Let this be your entire world. The mountain-like posture, the rootedness in the earth, and the gentle, rhythmic, faithful dance of the breath. Inhale and exhale. You have arrived. You are home. 2. The landscape of sound. As you continue to rest in the quiet sanctuary of your own body, anchored by the gentle rhythm of the breath, a new landscape may begin to reveal itself. The landscape of sound. For a moment, gently release your primary focus on the breath and allow your awareness to open up, to become like a vast, sensitive satellite dish, receiving the entire world of auditory sensation. We are not going to seek out sounds. We are simply going to allow them to arrive, to come to us. Our relationship with sound is often one of conflict. We categorize, we judge, we push and pull. I like the sound of birdsong. I hate the sound of construction. We are constantly curating our auditory world, trying to maximize the pleasant and eliminate the unpleasant. This struggle, this constant effort, is exhausting. It makes our inner peace fragile, dependent on the world outside being exactly as we wish it to be. But the world will never be exactly as we wish it to be. The practice of Zen listening is an invitation to lay down our arms in this fight. It is an invitation to find a peace that is not dependent on silence, but can be found right in the heart of the noise. Let us begin by listening to the sounds closest to us, the sounds of your own body. Can you hear the sound of your own breath? A soft, whispery sound, perhaps in the back of your throat or in your nostrils. It is the sound of life itself. Can you hear the faint, rhythmic beat of your own heart? A muffled drum deep within your chest. You may have to be very still, very quiet to perceive it. Perhaps you notice a small swallow or a gentle gurgle in your stomach. These are the sounds of your inner world, a universe of activity that is always present yet rarely noticed. For a moment, just rest here, listening to the intimate symphony of your own aliveness. There is nothing to judge, nothing to change, simply hearing. Now, gently allow your sphere of listening to expand. Let it grow to encompass the entire room you are in. What do you hear? Perhaps the low, steady hum of a refrigerator, the subtle electronic whine of a device on standby, the ticking of a clock, the creak of the floorboards as the house settles. These are the sounds we normally tune out. We deem them unimportant, part of the background noise. But for now, allow them to come into the foreground. Hear them with a beginner's ear, as if you have never heard them before. Notice their texture, their pitch, their rhythm. They are simply vibrations in the air. Neutral energy. Let your awareness expand even further now. Let it pass through the walls of your room, out into the wider world. What can you hear from outside? The distant rumble of traffic, the sound of the wind in the trees, the laughter of children playing down the street, a dog barking, a siren wailing in the distance. Hold all of these sounds in your awareness at once. The near sounds, the far sounds, the soft sounds, the loud sounds. Imagine your awareness as a vast, three-dimensional space, and these sounds are like fireflies, appearing and disappearing within it. You don't have to chase them. You don't have to name them. Simply let them be. Let them arise and let them pass away. As you listen in this open, spacious way, you may notice the mind's powerful habit of storytelling. A siren appears. The raw sensation is just a rising and falling pitch, but the mind immediately creates a story. I wonder if there's been an accident. I hope everyone is okay. A dog barks. The raw sensation is a sharp, percussive sound. The mind creates a story. That dog is so annoying. Why don't the owners keep it quiet? I can't concentrate. This is the key moment. In Buddhism, there is a powerful teaching about the two arrows. The first arrow is the event itself, the raw sensation, the vibration of the sound. It strikes you, it is unavoidable, the siren, the barking dog. The second arrow is the one we shoot into ourselves. It is our reaction, our judgment, our story, our anger, our worry. The first arrow may cause pain, but the second arrow is what causes suffering. The siren is just a sound. The suffering comes from the story we tell ourselves about the siren. The dog's bark is just a vibration. The suffering comes from our demand that it should not be happening. The practice of Zen listening is the practice of learning not to fire the second arrow. It is learning to stay with the raw sensation of the first arrow without adding the story. So when a sound arises, can you meet it with this bare attention? Can you feel the pure vibration of it before the mind has a chance to slap a label of good or bad onto it? See if you can just notice the act of hearing itself. As a sound enters your awareness, you might silently note hearing. Not hearing a car or hearing a bird, which immediately leads to more thoughts. Just the simple, direct acknowledgement of the sense faculty in action. Hearing. This practice cultivates a profound equanimity. It is the wisdom of the open sky. The sky does not prefer the fluffy white clouds and reject the dark storm clouds. It allows all of them to pass through its vast embrace without resistance. The sky is not stained by the color of the clouds, nor is it disturbed by the turbulence of the storm. Can you become the sky for your own auditory experience? Can you allow the pleasant sounds, the bird song, to be like beautiful, wispy clouds, and allow the unpleasant sounds, the construction noise, to be like dark storm clouds? And can you recognize that you are not the clouds? You are the vast, silent, unchanging sky that holds them all. Let's explore this silence. We often think of silence as the absence of sound, but in this practice, we can come to experience it differently. What if silence is the fundamental reality, and sound is simply a temporary disturbance of it? Can you listen for the silence? It is the canvas upon which all sounds are painted. It is there in the space between two notes of music. It is there in the pause between two thoughts. It is there, underneath the rumble of traffic. The silence is always present. It is the ground of being. As you sit, try to rest your attention in this background silence. Let the sounds arise out of the silence and dissolve back into the silence. When you do this, the sounds lose their power to disturb you. They become like waves on the surface of a deep ocean. The surface may be turbulent, but the depths of the ocean remain profoundly still. Your true nature is this deep, silent, peaceful depth. The noise is just a surface phenomenon. This is not a practice of escaping the world. It is a practice of learning to live in the world as it is, with greater freedom and peace. The next time you are irritated by a noise in your daily life, see if you can remember this. See if you can catch the moment before you fire the second arrow. Notice the feeling of irritation arising in your body. See the story forming in your mind. And in that moment, see if you can just come back to the raw sensation of the sound itself. Just a vibration, and remember the vast, silent sky of your own awareness. You may still feel a flicker of annoyance. We are human, after all, but perhaps it will not take root. Perhaps it will pass more quickly. You will have reclaimed your power. For these next few moments, let us rest together in this practice. Let your body be a mountain, rooted in the earth. Let your awareness be the sky, open and boundless. Let the sounds of the world be the clouds, coming and going without a trace. You are the silent listener, the still presence that is aware of it all. You are not the sound. You are not the story about the sound. You are the silence that hears it all. Rest here, in this peaceful, spacious, silent awareness. 3. The uninvited guests, our thoughts. As you continue to sit, anchored in the body, listening to the world from a place of spacious stillness, you will inevitably encounter the most intimate and persistent activity of your being, the ceaseless, relentless, and endlessly creative stream of your own thoughts. To sit in silence is to receive an invitation to a party you didn't know you were hosting, and all the uninvited guests have arrived at once. This is perhaps the greatest challenge and the greatest opportunity of our practice. The great masters of Zen have a name for this phenomenon. They call it the monkey mind. It is a perfect metaphor. Picture a small, restless monkey trapped in a room. It cannot stay still for a single moment. It screeches with anxiety about the future. It chatters endlessly, replaying conversations from the past. It swings wildly on the vines of association-known thought, connecting to another and another in a chain that seems to have no end. It picks up a shiny object, a new idea, examines it for a second, then drops it for another. It throws things, it makes a mess. This is the inner life of most human beings. And when we sit down to be quiet, we are finally coming face to face with this wild, untamed energy within us. Our first, most natural instinct is to fight it. We treat the monkey like an enemy. Be quiet, we command. Stop thinking. We try to lock it in a cage. We try to force it into submission. But have you ever tried to win an argument with a monkey? It is a futile and exhausting battle. The more you struggle against your thoughts, the more you feed them with the energy of your attention. The more you try to force silence, the louder the inner noise becomes. This struggle is the very definition of stress. It is a war waged against yourself, a war you can never win. So, what do? The path of Zen offers a radical alternative. We do not fight the monkey. We do not try to kill it or banish it. We simply sit down in the room with it, and we learn to watch it with a gentle, non-judgmental curiosity. The practice is not to stop thinking that is impossible. The practice is to stop being completely identified with and carried away by every single thought. It is the subtle but profound shift from being the monkey to being the calm, spacious awareness that observes the monkey's antics. Imagine you are sitting in a grand old movie theater. The film has already started. This film is the story of your life, produced and directed by your mind. On the screen, scenes of the past play out memories, both happy and sad. Trailers for the future are shown, plans, worries, and fantasies. There are dramas of conflict, comedies of error, and long, boring stretches of internal monologue. For most of our lives, we are so engrossed in the film that we forget we are in a theater. We believe we are the character on the screen. We laugh with them, we cry with them, we feel their fear and their anger as our own. We are completely lost in the narrative. The practice of mindfulness is the moment you wake up inside the theater. For a split second, you might become aware of the sticky floor beneath your feet, the plush velvet of the seat, the faint smell of popcorn. In that moment, you realize, I am not the character on the screen. I am the one who is sitting here, watching. This realization doesn't stop the movie. The movie keeps playing, but your relationship to it has fundamentally changed. You have created a space. You are no longer completely fused with the story. You can watch the drama unfold with a sense of perspective, even a little bit of humor and compassion for the character on screen. This is exactly how we work with our thoughts. As you sit here, a thought will inevitably hook you. Perhaps it's a worry about a bill that's due. Suddenly, you are no longer in your room, feeling your breath. You are in the movie called Financial Anxiety. You are looking at bank statements, rehearsing difficult conversations, imagining worst-case scenarios. You are lost. But then, there will be a moment of grace, a moment of remembering. Ah, I am thinking. I am worrying. That is the moment of waking up in the theater. In that moment, the instruction is exquisitely simple. Be kind. Do not scold yourself for getting lost in the movie. Everyone gets lost in the movie. Instead, celebrate that you have woken up, and then, gently, lovingly, guide your attention out of the story on the screen and back to something real, something tangible in the present moment. Guide your attention back to your anchor, back to the feeling of the breath entering and leaving your body, in and out. The movie will immediately try to pull you back in. A new scene will begin. A new thought will arise, and you will get lost again. And then you will wake up again, and you will gently return again. This is the rhythm of the practice. The return is everything. Every single time you notice you've been carried away, and you gently come back to the breath, you have just completed one rep of mindfulness. You are strengthening a muscle. You are building a new habit. You are choosing presence over distraction. To help with this, we can use a simple technique. When you notice a strong thought pattern has captured you, you can give it a soft, non-judgmental label. If you're lost in planning your week, you can just whisper in your mind, planning. If you're caught in a spiral of anxiety, worrying. If you're replaying an old memory, remembering. This label acts like a gentle tap on the shoulder. It's not a criticism. It's a tool of recognition that helps you see the thought as an object, a mental event, rather than as an absolute reality. It helps you step out of the movie screen and back into your seat. Once you have labeled the thought, you let it go and return to the breath. There is a wonderful Zen story about a young monk who was deeply tormented by his thoughts. He went to his master and cried, "Master, my mind is a terrifying place. It is full of roaring tigers of anger and poisonous snakes of jealousy. I cannot find any peace. What can I do?" The master looked at him calmly and said, "Do not worry. I will extinguish them for you. But first, you must bring them to me. Go to your meditation spot, and when a tiger of anger appears, catch it. When a snake of jealousy arises, grab it. Bring them here to me." The young monk, filled with hope, ran to his cushion. He sat down, ready to do battle, ready to capture these beasts. He waited. A thought of anger arose. "There, a tiger," he thought, and he reached out in his mind to grab it. But what did he find? There was nothing there to grab. It was like trying to catch a puff of smoke. A thought of jealousy appeared. "A snake," he thought, and he lunged for it. But it too had no substance. It vanished the moment he tried to grasp it. He spent the entire day trying to catch his thoughts and found that it was impossible. He returned to the master, crestfallen. "Master," he said, "I have failed. I could not bring them to you. When I looked for them directly, when I tried to catch them, they disappeared. There was nothing to hold on to." The old master smiled a deep, knowing smile. "There," he said, "I have extinguished them for you." This is the profound secret. Your thoughts, your tigers and snakes, only have power over you when you are lost in their story, when you believe in them implicitly. The moment you turn the light of your conscious, non-judgmental awareness upon them, they reveal themselves to be what they are: insubstantial, fleeting, and ultimately empty of power. They are clouds passing through the vast sky of your mind. They are not you. You are the sky. So for these next few moments, take your seat in the theater of your mind. Be the silent, compassionate witness. Let the movie play. Let the monkey chatter. Let the tigers and snakes appear. Do not fight them. Do not engage them. Simply watch them and know that you are the watcher. And always, with infinite patience and a kindness that could break your own heart, gently return your awareness to the simple, humble, and miraculous sensation of your own breath. This is the path to freedom. 4. The river of feelings. As we continue to sit in this deepening stillness, having watched the landscape of sound and the endless parade of thoughts, we begin to access an even deeper layer of our inner world, the world of feelings and emotions. Just as thoughts arise in the mind, emotions arise in the body. In the space you have so patiently cultivated, these feelings may now have room to show themselves more clearly. A subtle flicker of restlessness in your legs, a deep, quiet well of sadness behind your heart, a sudden, sharp spike of irritation, a soft, warm glow of contentment in your chest. Our entire life is a dance with these feelings, and for most of us, it is a difficult dance, full of resistance and control. We have been taught, by our culture, and often by our own experience, to categorize our emotions into two simple boxes: good and bad. The good feelings, joy, love, peace, excitement, are to be chased after, captured, and held onto with a white-knuckled grip. The bad feelings, fear, anger, grief, shame, anxiety, are to be avoided, suppressed, denied, or fixed as quickly as possible. This constant internal battle, this pushing away and pulling towards, is the very engine of our suffering. It is a state of perpetual civil war. The path of Zen, the path of mindfulness, invites us to declare a truce. It invites us to see that an emotion, at its core, is not good or bad. It is simply energy. It is pure information. It is a wave rising from the deep ocean of our being. A wave is not good or bad. It is simply a wave. It is our story about the wave, our fear of being drowned by it, or our desperation to ride it forever, that creates the turmoil. This practice is about learning to be with the waves. All of them, not just the gentle sunny ones, but the big stormy ones too. We learn to stay in the boat, to feel the rise and fall, and to trust that every wave, no matter how large, will eventually crest and return to the ocean from which it came. To do this, we can use a gentle, four-step process of inquiry. Think of it as a way of holding a lantern and walking into the sometimes dark rooms of our heart, not to fight whatever is there, but simply to see it clearly and with kindness. The first step is recognition. When a feeling arises, can you simply notice it and name it gently and without judgment? Ah, this is anxiety. Oh, hello, sadness. There is a feeling of peace. This simple act of naming is incredibly powerful. It takes the feeling from being a vague, overwhelming mood that has hijacked your entire being and turns it into a specific, observable event. You are no longer anxious. You are a vast awareness that is experiencing anxiety. This shift from I am to I am aware of is the beginning of freedom. So for a moment now, just check in. What feeling is most predominant for you right now? Can you softly name it in your own mind? The second step is allowance. This is the heart of non-resistance. Once you have recognized the feeling, can you give it permission to be there? This can feel radical. Our whole conditioning screams at us to do something about an unpleasant feeling, to fix it, to distract ourselves from it. To allow a feeling to exist, especially a painful one, requires immense courage and trust. Allowing does not mean you like the feeling. It does not mean you want it to stay forever. It is simply an acknowledgement of reality. The feeling is already here. Fighting it is like struggling in quicksand. It only makes you sink faster. Allowance is the act of relaxing that struggle. You might say to yourself, this is here right now, let it be. Imagine you are the vast, open sky. The feeling is a weather pattern, a dark storm cloud, a heavy fog, a brilliant burst of sun. The sky doesn't fight the weather. It simply allows it the space to be what it is, knowing that it will pass. Can you offer your feeling this same spacious acceptance? The third step is investigation. This is where we move from allowing the feeling to be there to turning towards it with a gentle, non-judgmental curiosity. We become an inner scientist or an archaeologist of our own heart. The question we ask is not, why do I feel this way? Which often leads into a confusing spiral of stories and analysis. The question we ask is, what does this actually feel like in my body as a pure physical sensation? This is a profound shift. Take the feeling you recognized earlier. Where do you feel it most strongly in your body? Is the anxiety a tightness in your throat? A buzzing or vibration in your chest? A cold, hollow feeling in your stomach? Be as precise as you can. Does it have a temperature? Is it hot or cool? Does it have a texture? Is it sharp and prickly or dull and heavy? Does it have a size and shape? Is it a small, hard knot or a vast, diffuse cloud? Does it have a movement? Is it pulsing or churning, or is it completely still? Just let your attention rest gently on these raw physical sensations. You don't need to change them. You are just gathering data. You are getting to know this energy in your body on its own terms, before your mind has labeled it anxiety or sadness. As you do this, you may notice that the feeling is not one solid, monolithic thing. It is a constantly shifting constellation of smaller sensations. It changes, it moves, it breathes. This investigation demystifies the emotion. It breaks its spell. You are seeing the raw ingredients, not just the finished, scary-looking cake. The final step is nurturing. After you have sat with a feeling, especially a difficult one, and investigated its nature, the practice is to respond with kindness. You have just been present for a part of you that is hurting. What does this hurting part need? It needs your compassion. This is the act of bringing the warmth of your heart to the coolness of your pain. A simple way to do this is to place a hand gently over the part of your body where you feel the sensation most strongly, perhaps a hand on your heart or on your belly. Let the warmth of your hand be a physical expression of your care. You might then offer a silent phrase of kindness to yourself. Words like, I am here with you. It's okay to feel this way. May I be kind to myself in this moment. Or simply, I'm sorry this hurts. You are not saying these words to make the feeling go away. You are saying them to change your relationship to the feeling. You are moving from being its enemy to being its compassionate friend. You are reparenting yourself, offering the comfort and safety you may have never received. This act of nurturing is profoundly healing. It teaches the wounded parts of you that they are not alone. This four-step process, recognize, allow, investigate, nurture, can be applied to any emotion that arises, from the most subtle to the most intense. When you meet joy, can you recognize it? Allow it to be fully present without grasping. Investigate the beautiful, expansive sensations it creates in your body and nurture it by savoring the moment with gratitude. When you meet anger, can you recognize it? Allow the fiery energy to be there without acting it out. Investigate the heat and tension in your body and nurture the part of you that feels unheard or violated. This is the path of emotional freedom. It is not a path of getting rid of your feelings. It is the path of learning to be the calm, compassionate, and spacious container for the entire, beautiful, messy, and ever-changing river of your emotional life. The feelings are the current. You are the deep, stable, unshakable riverbed. For these next few moments, simply sit, let the river flow, and rest as the loving awareness that holds it all. 5. The story of the empty boat. As you continue to sit, resting as the spacious awareness that holds thoughts and feelings, let us now turn our attention to the world of our relationships, to the complex dance we do with other people. It is here, in our interactions with others, that our peace is so often tested. It is here that we feel slighted, misunderstood, hurt, and angered. And it is here that one of the most simple and profound Zen parables can offer us a key to a different kind of freedom. I invite you to imagine this scene with me. Picture yourself on a vast, quiet lake at dusk. The water is like glass, reflecting the soft, fading colors of the sky. A gentle mist is rising, blurring the line between water and air. You are alone in a small wooden boat, gently rowing. There is a deep sense of peace, a feeling of stillness that matches the world around you. The only sound is the soft dip and pull of your oars in the water. You feel completely at ease. Suddenly, out of the thick mist, another boat appears and collides with yours with a jarring thud. The impact rocks your boat, splashing cold water over the side. Your peace is shattered. Instantly, a hot surge of anger rises in your chest. Who is this idiot, you think? Who is rowing so carelessly? They have ruined this perfect evening. You stand up, your heart pounding with indignation, and you begin to shout into the mist. You hurl insults and accusations at the unseen person in the other boat, your voice tight with blame. Your entire being is consumed by this fire of righteous anger. You wait for a response, an apology, an argument, but there is only silence. The mist begins to thin, swirling in the faint light, and as it clears, you look into the other boat, ready to confront its reckless captain, and you see that there is no one there. The boat is empty. It must have broken loose from its mooring upstream and simply drifted down the current, carried by the whim of the water until it bumped into you. In that single moment of seeing, what happens to your anger? Where does it go? It vanishes. It evaporates into the misty air. You cannot be angry at an empty boat. The blame has no target. The indignation has no object. All of that fiery energy dissolves, and you are left with only the simple reality of the situation. Two boats have bumped on a lake. You might even laugh a little at your own outburst. You check your boat for damage, you push the empty one away, and you continue on your journey, your peace restored, perhaps even deepened by the insight. This story is a powerful mirror for our lives. The Zen masters tell us the other boat is always empty. Think about it. The person who cuts you off in traffic, causing your heart to race and your mind to fill with curses. We instantly imagine a malicious captain in that car, a selfish, arrogant, terrible person. But the boat is empty. That driver is adrift in their own fog. Perhaps they are rushing to a hospital. Perhaps they just had a terrible argument and their mind is a storm of distraction. Perhaps they are simply lost in a daydream. Their action, while affecting you, was not about you. It was a manifestation of their own inner state. You are shouting at an empty boat. The colleague who sends a sharp, critical email, we immediately personalize it. They are trying to undermine me. They think I'm incompetent. We create a whole drama of office politics and personal slights. But the boat is empty. That colleague is likely drowning in their own sea of pressure, insecurity, and fear of not being good enough. Their curtness is a reflection of their own stress, not a calculated attack on your worth. The family member who makes a thoughtless, critical comment during a holiday dinner, It stings. It feels like a direct assault, but their boat is empty. Their words are not a clear assessment of who you are. They are a broadcast of their own unfulfilled expectations, their own rigid beliefs, their own unhealed wounds, shaped by a lifetime of experiences you can never fully know. In our digital age, we are surrounded by a vast fleet of empty boats on the sea of social media. A stranger leaves a cruel comment on your post. The temptation is to engage, to fight back, to feel the poison of anger and hurt. But their boat is the emptiest of all. It is a ghost ship, a projection of their own loneliness, rage, or pain onto a screen, with no real understanding of who you are. To get into a fight with a comment on the internet is the very definition of shouting at an empty boat in the fog. This teaching is not about condoning harmful behavior. This is a critical point. Seeing the empty boat does not mean you say, "Oh, it's okay that you crashed into me." It does not mean you become a doormat. You still have to deal with the consequences of the collision. You may need to set a firm boundary with your colleague. You may need to tell your family member that their comments are not acceptable. You still need to repair the damage to your own boat. The profound difference is the energy from which you act. When you are screaming at a phantom captain, your actions are fueled by the blinding poison of anger, blame, and resentment. When you see that the boat is empty, you can act from a place of clarity, calm, and even compassion. You can say, "Your boat hit my boat, and this was the result." This needs to be addressed. You are responding to the situation, not reacting to a story. You are free from the inner turmoil. Carrying resentment and anger is like choosing to hold a burning hot coal in your hand with the intention of someday throwing it at the person who wronged you. In the meantime, who is getting burned? Only you. Letting go, seeing the empty boat, is the act of dropping the hot coal. It is a gift you give to yourself. It is a declaration that your inner peace is more important than your need to be right or to hold a grievance. It is taking full responsibility for the state of your own heart. I invite you now to do a small practice. Bring to mind a situation in your life where you feel someone has wronged you, a small irritation or a deep hurt. Choose one boat that has collided with yours. For a moment, allow yourself to feel the familiar sting of it, the story of blame and injustice that you have told yourself about it. Acknowledge the pain. It is real. Now, as an experiment, see if you can introduce the possibility that the other boat was empty. You don't have to believe it fully. Just allow for the possibility. What fog of suffering might that person have been lost in? What fear, what insecurity, what pain could have been the current that pushed their boat into yours? Can you imagine their life, their own struggles, their own monkey mind? As you hold this new perspective, just notice what happens in your own body. Do you feel even a tiny bit of space opening up around the anger? A slight softening in your chest? A release in your jaw? You are not forgiving them for their benefit. You are doing it for yours. You are freeing yourself from the hook. The world will continue to send drifting boats your way. This is the nature of life on the misty lake. We cannot control the currents, but we can change how we see. We can choose, in each moment, to stop populating the world with malicious enemies and instead see a world of struggling people, each adrift in their own empty boat, each lost in their own fog, doing the best they can. This is the practice. To see the collision, to feel the impact, to watch the anger arise, and then to take a deep breath, look through the mist, and recognize, with a deep and liberating wisdom, the other boat is empty. Then, and only then, can you find your oars and row on, your heart spacious and your peace intact. 6. The wisdom of impermanence, Anicca. As we sit here, in this container of stillness, we have become intimate with the flow of our own experience. We have watched sounds arise and fade. We have witnessed the endless parade of thoughts appearing and dissolving. We have felt the waves of emotion swell and recede. In doing this, we have already, without needing any special theory, become direct students of one of the most fundamental and liberating truths of existence. In Buddhism, this truth is called Anicca, the truth of impermanence. It is the simple, radical, and undeniable fact that everything changes. Nothing is fixed. Nothing is permanent. Take a moment to feel this directly. Bring your attention once again to your breath. Notice this single inhalation. There has never been one exactly like it before. and there will never be one exactly like it again. It arises, it sustains you for a moment, and then it passes away, making space for the next. Your entire life is a string of these unique, unrepeatable breaths. Feel the sensations in your body, the slight itch on your cheek, the warmth in your hands, the pressure on your seat. Even as you notice them, they are already shifting, changing, dissolving. Your body itself, which feels so solid, is in a constant state of flux. Billions of cells are dying and being born in every moment. You are not a static object. You are a flowing river of biological processes. This is not a dark or depressing philosophy. It is a simple statement of reality. Yet, so much of our human suffering, so much of our deep background anxiety, comes from waging a silent, desperate war against this truth. Our culture is built upon a dream of permanence. We strive for permanent security, permanent youth, permanent happiness, permanent love. We build institutions and fortunes meant to last forever. We take photos to freeze beautiful moments in time, terrified they will slip through our fingers. We cling to our identities, our opinions, and our beliefs as if they were solid rock, when in fact they are just temporary shelters we have built on the banks of a constantly moving river. This war against change manifests in two primary ways that create suffering. First, when we experience something pleasant, a moment of joy, a feeling of love, a period of success, a beautiful sunset, immediate instinct is to grasp it, to hold on. This is so good, we think, I hope it never ends. But in that very act of clinging, we introduce a subtle poison into the experience, the fear of its ending. We are no longer fully present for the joy, because we are already worrying about its inevitable departure. We are pre-grieving our own happiness. Second, when we experience something unpleasant, a difficult emotion, a painful loss, a period of failure, physical discomfort, immediate instinct is to resist, to push it away. This is awful, we think. I have to make it stop. We tense our bodies and minds against the experience, terrified that this pain will become our permanent reality. This resistance, this tensing against the way things are, is like adding a second layer of suffering on top of the original pain. The pain is the first arrow, as we have discussed. The resistance, born from the fear of permanence, is the second, and it is often far more painful than the first. The wisdom of Anika invites us to lay down our arms in this futile war. It invites us to stop fighting the flow of the river and instead learn to navigate it with grace. Let's look at how this wisdom transforms our experience of the unpleasant. Imagine you are caught in a sudden, intense downpour. If you believe that this rain is a personal affliction and that it might never, ever stop, you will be filled with a desperate, panicked misery. You will curse the sky. You will tense every muscle against the cold drops. Your suffering will be immense. But if you hold the deep, embodied knowledge that all storms, by their very nature, are temporary, your experience changes entirely. You are still getting wet. It is still uncomfortable, but you are no longer in a state of panicked resistance. You can find a strange resilience in the heart of the storm, knowing this too shall pass. This is a refuge we can take in the midst of life's greatest difficulties. When you are in the grip of deep anxiety, you can gently remind the frightened part of your mind, this feeling is impermanent. It is a storm. It will pass. When you are navigating the landscape of grief, the pain can feel like a vast, endless ocean. The wisdom of impermanence is the knowledge that even this vast ocean has tides. The waves of intense pain will crest and they will recede. This knowledge doesn't erase the pain, but it makes it bearable. It gives you the strength to stay present with your own heart, without being completely consumed by the fear that the pain will last forever. Now let us look at the other side of the coin, which is just as profound. How does the wisdom of impermanence transform our experience of the pleasant? Let's go back to that image of a magnificent sunset. The sky is on fire with impossible colors. It is breathtakingly beautiful. The mind that fears change will immediately try to capture it. It will pull out a phone, take 100 pictures, trying to freeze the moment. It will be so busy trying to possess the sunset that it will miss the actual experience of it. But the mind that has befriended impermanence does the opposite. Knowing that this display is precious because it is fleeting, it puts the camera down. It becomes fully present, It drinks in the colors with its eyes. It feels the awe in its chest. It savors each evolving moment of the beauty, knowing it will never be repeated. The knowledge of its ending does not create anxiety. It creates a profound sense of gratitude and aliveness. The impermanence is what makes the moment sacred. This is the secret to a life of deep appreciation. When you know that everything is a temporary gift, you stop taking things for granted. The taste of your morning coffee, the sound of a loved one's laughter, the feeling of the sun on your skin, the simple act of breathing. These small, everyday moments become infused with a poignant beauty. They are no longer mundane. They are miracles offered to you for a short while. You learn to love the world not in spite of the fact that it changes, but because it changes. Let's zoom the lens out even further. The stars you see in the night sky, they are not permanent. They are born, they burn for billions of years, and they die. The mountains that seem like symbols of eternity, they are being slowly, imperceptibly, weathered into dust by wind and rain. Our planet, our sun, our galaxy all are part of a cosmic dance of arising and passing away. Your own life, this precious, unrepeatable existence, is also a part of this dance. This is not to be morbid, it is to be awake. When you truly grasp the finite nature of your time here, it clarifies everything. The small anxieties, the petty grievances, the fear of what others think, they all begin to shrink in the face of this vast, awesome truth. The question becomes, given the fleeting nature of this life, what truly matters? How do I want to spend the moments I have? To embrace impermanence is to learn to live like a skilled boatman on the river of life. You do not try to stop the current. You do not curse the rapids or desperately cling to the calm pools. You learn to use your paddle of awareness to navigate whatever comes. You are fully engaged, fully alive to the journey, moment by changing moment. The peace you find is not a static peace. It is a dynamic peace. It is the peace of the dance. So, for these next few moments, I invite you to simply sit and watch the dance in your own being. Watch the constant, subtle flicker of reality. A sensation arises. It shines for a moment. It vanishes. A thought appears. It tells its story. It disappears. Feel yourself not as a solid, permanent noun, but as a dynamic, flowing verb. A process of seeing, hearing, feeling, knowing. Rest in this flow. Find your stability not in trying to hold on, but in the wisdom of letting go. This is the heart of peace. This is the wisdom of Anika. 7. The cluttered room of the mind. Let us now explore one of the most powerful metaphors in Zen for understanding our own minds. Imagine that your mind is a room. This is the innermost room of your being, the sanctuary where you live every moment of your life. For many of us, if we were to be truly honest, this room has become cluttered. It is not the peaceful, spacious, light-filled sanctuary we might wish for. It is a chaotic, neglected space, filled with the accumulated debris of a lifetime. Let's take a gentle, honest tour of this room together. As we open the door, the first thing we notice is the old, heavy furniture. It takes up so much space, making it difficult to move. Over in one corner sits the huge, overstuffed armchair of your core negative beliefs. For some, it's the "I'm not good enough" chair. Its fabric stained with the memory of every past failure and criticism. For others, it's the "I'm unlovable" chair. Its springs broken from years of loneliness. We return to this furniture out of habit, sinking into its familiar, uncomfortable shape, believing its very existence is proof of our inadequacy. Against the far wall is the dusty, locked cabinet of old resentments. Inside, you have carefully filed away every hurt, every betrayal, every time you felt wronged. You know every file by heart. From time to time, you take one out, polish the memory of the injustice, feel the familiar, bitter heat of it, and then carefully place it back in the drawer, preserving it. It feels important to keep these records, but the cabinet emanates a cold, heavy energy that chills the entire room. And look at the floor. It is almost completely covered in piles and piles of junk mail. This is the endless stream of mental chatter, the worries and distractions that arrive every day. There are unopened bills of anxiety about the future, their due dates printed in threatening red ink. There are glossy catalogs filled with images of other people's seemingly perfect lives, their perfect homes and vacations. that leave you with a subtle feeling of lack. There are urgent, sensational news alerts about disasters and conflicts in the world, feeding a low-grade sense of fear and powerlessness. This junk mail pours in through the mail slot of your senses all day long, and we rarely throw any of it out. We just let it pile up. In the corners of the room are the unfinished projects. Stacks of canvases, half-painted with what-if scenarios and alternate life paths, now gathering dust. Boxes filled with regrets, containing words you wish you'd said and actions you wish you'd taken. There are precarious towers of shoulds and ought-tos that you've inherited from your family and your culture, threatening to topple over at any moment. This is the weight of the past and the pressure of a fantasized future, cluttering the present moment. And finally, look at the windows. They are so covered in the grime of past conditioning, the smudges of prejudice, and the film of cynicism that the light from the outside world can barely get in. And when it does, it's distorted and discolored. We don't see the world as it is. We see it through the filter of our dirty windows, confirming the stories we already believe about ourselves and others. The room is dark, cramped, and exhausting to live in. Faced with this overwhelming mess, we typically resort to one of three flawed strategies. The first is the aggressive bulldozer approach. We get fed up with the clutter and try to get rid of it by force. I have to stop being so anxious. We yell, trying to throw the anxiety bills into a fire. I hate this part of myself, we scream, trying to smash the armchair of self-doubt with a hammer. But this violence only creates more chaos. It stirs up dust, breaks things, and ultimately leaves us feeling even more exhausted and defeated. The second flawed strategy is simply rearranging the clutter. This is the activity of rumination. We pick up a pile of worry and meticulously sort through it. We move it from one side of the room to the other. We analyze it, categorize it, make lists about it. It feels like we are being productive, like we are dealing with our issues. But we are not actually removing anything. We are just shuffling the mess around, becoming ever more entangled in it, ensuring the room stays just as cluttered as it was before. The third, and perhaps most common strategy in our modern world, is to escape the room altogether. The clutter is too painful, too overwhelming, so we just leave. We flee into the endless corridors of distraction, binge watching television for hours, doom, scrolling on our phones, working ourselves to the point of collapse, using food or alcohol or shopping to numb the discomfort. This provides temporary relief, but the room doesn't clean itself while we are away. The moment the distraction ends, we have to return, and the mess is always there, waiting for us, sometimes even worse than when we left. The practice of silent meditation offers a fourth way, a gentle, patient, and radically different approach. It is the Zen art of housekeeping. The first step is the most courageous. You simply enter the room, close the door behind you, and sit down quietly on the floor, right in the middle of all the clutter. You don't try to fix anything. You don't try to run away. You just agree, for a short while, to be present with the mess exactly as it is. This is a profound act of self-acceptance. You are saying, this is the state of my mind right now, and I am willing to be here with it. The second step is to choose one very small task. You are not going to try to clean the whole room at once. That would be overwhelming. You are going to find a single, soft polishing cloth. That cloth is your breath. And you are going to pick one tiny spot on the dirtiest window and begin to gently clean it. Your only job is to focus on the circular motion of the cloth, the feeling of the glass, the squeak of the cleaning. Your job is to focus on the sensation of your breath, inhaling and exhaling. Inevitably, your attention will be pulled away by the clutter. A piece of junk mail will catch your eye. The old familiar armchair will call to you. In that moment, the practice is not to get angry at yourself for being distracted. The practice is to notice where your attention has gone. Ah, I'm thinking about the resentment cabinet again. You acknowledge the piece of clutter, seeing it clearly for what it is. And then, with the gentleness of a loving parent, you turn your attention away from the clutter and you go back to your single, manageable task. You return to polishing the small circle on the window. You return to the breath, over and over again. You get lost in the clutter, you notice, you gently return. This is the entire practice. Slowly, miraculously, something begins to happen. As you continue to polish that one spot, a small circle of clear glass appears. For the first time, a clean, undistorted beam of sunlight enters the room. It is a moment of pure presence, of clarity, and the light from this small, clean space begins to illuminate the clutter around it. As this light spreads, you start to see the clutter for what it truly is. You see that the heavy, intimidating armchair is just wood and fabric and stuffingits, just a collection of thoughts and memories, not a solid truth about who you are. You see that the junk mail is just paper and ink, fleeting worries, not prophecies. The clutter begins to lose its emotional charge. It's still there, but it no longer defines you. Space begins to appear in the room. You can walk around now without tripping over everything. And this leads to the ultimate realization, the great liberation. As you continue this patient work, you realize with unshakable clarity, you are not the clutter. You are not even the room. You are the one sitting in the middle of it all. You are the conscious, loving presence that is aware of the room and its contents. You are the housekeeper, patiently, gently, letting in the light, one breath at a time. This is the path of mental detox, not a violent purge, but a gentle, compassionate cleaning. So, for these next few moments, I invite you to take up your cloth. Sit with the clutter of your mind, whatever it may be, and gently, patiently, lovingly, begin to clean that one small spot on the window. Let the light in, one breath at a time. 8. No, self, the ultimate freedom, anatta. We have now journeyed through several layers of our experience. We have come home to the body, listened to the world with spaciousness, watched our thoughts without being snared by them, and held our feelings with compassion. We are now prepared to approach the very heart of the Zen path. This teaching is perhaps the most subtle, the most counterintuitive, and ultimately, the most liberating of all. It is the teaching of anatta, or no self. I want to begin by acknowledging that for many of us, especially in the Western world, these words can sound frightening. No self? It sounds like annihilation. Our entire culture is built upon the idea of the self. Be true to yourself. Find yourself. Love yourself. The self is seen as the absolute center of our universe, a precious identity to be polished, protected, and promoted. The idea of its absence can feel like a threat, like the ground is being pulled out from under us. So let us proceed gently, not as a dogma to be believed, but as an investigation to be undertaken in your own direct experience. This is not about destroying yourself. It is about discovering a freedom that is vaster than the self you take yourself to be. Let's first look at what this self is. The feeling of being a me inside your body is so strong, so constant, that we never question it. We feel like a permanent, continuous entity, a little pilot or CEO sitting in a control room behind our eyes, directing the show. This self, this ego, is the main character in the movie of our life. It is a story we have been writing since we were children. A story stitched together from our memories, our beliefs, our accomplishments and failures, the things people have said about us, and the roles we play: parent, child, employee, friend. Maintaining this story is a full-time, exhausting job. We are constantly gathering evidence to support our narrative. We seek praise and validation. We defend our opinions as if they were vital organs. We endlessly compare our story to the stories of others. We feel personally attacked when someone criticizes us, because we believe our very being is under assault. This constant self-maintenance is the source of so much of our anxiety, our insecurity, and our conflict with others. We are perpetually guarding a fragile, imaginary fortress. The teaching of anatta is an invitation to lay down this heavy burden. Let us now become gentle detectives and look for this self. If this solid, continuous me exists, we should be able to find it. Let's start with the most obvious place, the body. Are you your body? At first, the answer seems to be yes. But as we've seen, your body is in a constant state of flux. It is a river of changing cells, air, water, and food. The body you have today is not the same body you had 7 years ago, or even 7 minutes ago. Furthermore, your body performs its most vital functions: breathing, digesting, beating your heart perfectly well without any conscious intervention from a you. The I often just gets in the way. So if the body is constantly changing, it cannot be the location of a permanent, unchanging self. Okay, So maybe the self is not the body. Is it our thoughts? Are you your thoughts? But we have sat here and watched them. They are like clouds passing in the sky, appearing from nowhere and vanishing into nowhere. Ask yourself this: where will your very next thought come from? Can you predict it? Did you, the CEO, decide what it would be, or did it just appear? If you cannot control the arising of your own thoughts, how can you be them? You are not the thoughts. You are the spacious awareness in which the thoughts appear. All right, if not the thoughts, then surely the self must be our feelings, our emotions. Are you your feelings? We have seen that feelings are like the weather. They change from moment to moment, day to day. Joy gives way to sadness. Anger dissolves into peace. If you were your feelings, you would literally cease to exist when your mood shifted. You are not the feeling. You are the compassionate space that holds the changing weather of your emotional world. So we have looked in the body, in the thoughts, and in the feelings, and we cannot find a fixed, solid thing to call me. We find only processes, changing sensations, fleeting thoughts, flowing emotions. The self we are looking for is like the onion we are peeling. We remove layer after layer, hoping to find the core, but when we have removed the final layer, we find nothing. The onion was nothing but its layers. The self is nothing but its component processes. This is where the fear can arise. If I'm nothing, what's the point? But this is a misunderstanding. The most helpful metaphor to grasp this is that of the wave and the ocean. Imagine a single wave on the surface of the sea. That wave has a unique identity. It has a specific shape, a height, a speed. We can point to it and say, look at that wave. It is a distinct entity, separate from the other waves. This is like our conventional self or name, our personality, our body. It is our unique form. But what is that wave made of? Is it made of wave stuff number? It is made of ocean. It is 100% water. Its entire substance is ocean. The wave is simply a temporary form that the vast, deep ocean is taking for a short while. It is never, for one moment, actually separate from the ocean. When the wave reaches the shore and crashes, its form dissolves. Does the wave die? Has something been annihilated? Number. The water is unharmed. Its form has changed, but its essential nature, the water supply, merges back into the whole. Nothing of substance was ever lost. The teaching of anatta is this. You are the wave, yes, but you are also the entire ocean. The small, separate, anxious self you take yourself to be the wave is a temporary manifestation of something infinitely vaster, deeper, and more peaceful. The boundless ocean of consciousness itself. No, self does not mean you cease to exist. It means you realize your existence is infinitely larger than you imagined. This realization has profound, practical consequences. The wave is fragile. It can be dashed against the rocks. It fears its own dissolution. The ocean is not fragile. It cannot be harmed. When you begin to identify more with the ocean of awareness than with the small, fragile wave of your ego, your life begins to change. Insults and criticism lose their sting. An insult is just one wave crashing into another. When you know you are the whole ocean, it doesn't feel so personal. Fear of failure diminishes. A failure is just a wave receding. It is not a final verdict on your being. The ocean remains, ready to produce another wave. Resilience becomes natural. Compassion arises effortlessly. You look at other people, and you no longer see separate competing waves. You see other expressions of the same ocean. Their suffering feels connected to your suffering. Their joy feels connected to your joy. The empty boat becomes an obvious truth. So, how do we experience this? Let's end with a direct inquiry. As you sit here, notice the act of seeing. Colors and shapes are appearing in your field of vision. Now, look for the seer. Can you find a little me located behind your eyes that is doing the seeing? Or is there just seeing? Now listen to the sounds in the room. Notice the act of hearing. Can you find a listener inside your ears? Or is there just hearing happening on its own? Notice your breath. Is there an I that is breathing? Or is your body just breathing? Do not search for an answer in words. Just rest in the inquiry itself. Rest in the experience of life unfolding by itself without a central doer in charge. You are not the fragile wave. You are the deep, eternal, peaceful ocean. This is your true nature, and realizing it is the ultimate freedom. 9. The parable of the farmer and his horse. In our journey inward, we have explored the landscapes of the body, of sound, of thought, and of feeling. We have looked at our relationship with ourselves and with others. Now, let us explore our relationship with the unfolding of life itself, with fate, with destiny, with the unpredictable chain of events that we call our story. There is an old Taoist and Zen parable that serves as a perfect guide for this exploration. It is a story of profound simplicity and bottomless depth. I invite you to listen not just with your ears, but with your whole being. In a small, remote village, nestled among rolling hills, lived an old farmer. He was not a man of great wealth, but he possessed one treasure that was the envy of the entire village: a magnificent, strong, and spirited horse. One morning, the farmer went to the stable and found it empty. The horse had broken through the fence and run away. Soon, the news spread through the village, and all the neighbors came to the farmer's house to offer their condolences. They shook their heads, clicking their tongues. "Oh, what terrible luck," they said, "to lose your only horse, your greatest asset. This is a disaster. You are cursed." The farmer listened quietly, nodding. After they had finished, he looked at them with his calm, clear eyes and said only this: "Maybe." A week passed. Then one evening, the villagers heard a great thundering of hooves. They looked up to see the old farmer's horse returning, and it was not alone. It had brought with it a herd of a dozen wild, beautiful horses from the mountains. Suddenly, the farmer was a rich man. The neighbors all rushed back to his house, this time their faces beaming with excitement. "What incredible luck!" they exclaimed. "What a blessing from the heavens! Your misfortune has turned into a great fortune. You are truly blessed." The farmer stood among the magnificent animals, listened to the praise, and replied with the same quiet simplicity: "Maybe." The very next day, the farmer's only son, a strong and capable young man, set about the task of taming one of the wild horses. But the horse was powerful and untamed. It reared up, throwing the son to the ground with great force. The young man's leg was badly broken. Once again, the caravan of neighbors made their way to the farmer's house, their faces now masks of pity and sorrow. "Oh, the tragedy," they cried. "This fortune was a curse in disguise. Your son, your only help in the fields, is now crippled. This is the worst luck of all." The farmer, sitting by his son's bedside, heard their lamentations and said softly, "Maybe." A few weeks later, the emperor's army marched into the village. A brutal war had broken out in a distant province, and the generals were conscripting every able-bodied young man to be sent to the front lines. It was a battle from which very few were expected to return. The soldiers went from house to house, taking every young man. When they came to the farmer's house, they saw his son lying with his leg bound in splints. They declared him unfit for service and moved on. He was the only young man in the entire village to be spared. The neighbors, their own sons now gone, came to the farmer, their eyes wide with awe and envy. "You were right all along," they proclaimed. "Your son's injury was the greatest luck imaginable. It saved his life. You are the wisest of all." The old farmer looked out at the road where the army had disappeared, and with a deep sigh, he replied, "Maybe." This story is a perfect map of two different ways of living. The neighbors represent the untrained mind, the way most of us live our lives. They live on a violent emotional roller coaster, completely at the mercy of external circumstances. When events appear positive, they are ecstatic. When events appear negative, they are devastated. They are addicted to narrative. They need to instantly label every event to fit it into a neat box of good or bad, fortune or disaster. They believe they understand the meaning of each event as it happens, and in their certainty, they are constantly proven wrong, tossed about by the next unpredictable wave of life. Their existence is exhausting. The farmer represents the wise mind, the mind of equanimity that we are cultivating here in our silent practice. His maybe is not a sign of indifference or pessimism. The farmer is not detached from his life. He felt the loss of his horse. He enjoyed the arrival of the new ones. He felt the pain of his son's injury. He felt the relief of his son being spared. The maybe is not a denial of experience. So what is it? The farmer's maybe is a profound expression of humility. It is the deep bone marrow understanding that life is infinitely complex, that the web of cause and effect is too vast and intricate for any human mind to fully grasp. He knows that he sees only a tiny fragment of the whole picture. To place a final label of good or bad on any single event would be an act of profound arrogance. The maybe is an expression of wisdom, the wisdom to know that we don't know the full story. The farmer's maybe is also an expression of spaciousness. The neighbors have no space between an event and their reaction. The horse is gone, instant despair. The horses arrive, instant euphoria. There is no room for wisdom to breathe. The farmer, however, has created a vast, quiet field of space around every event. In this space, he is not hijacked by reactive emotion. He can feel what he feels, but he is not defined by it. He can respond to the reality of each situation, tend to the broken leg, build a bigger corral with a clear mind and a steady heart. This is a practice we can bring into the heart of our modern lives. We are constantly labeling our experiences. You get passed over for a promotion, and you immediately label it bad luck, a disaster. But maybe that job would have led to immense stress and burnout. Maybe staying in your current role will open up an unexpected and more fulfilling opportunity you couldn't have foreseen. You lose a relationship that you cherished. It feels like the end of the world, a definitive tragedy. But maybe the space created by that ending is the necessary ground for a new part of yourself to grow. Maybe it will lead you to a deeper self-reliance or a different kind of love you never knew was possible. This practice is not about pretending that painful things aren't painful. It is about holding our stories about those things more lightly. It is about loosening the death grip of our own judgment. I invite you to try this right now. Bring to mind an event from your own life, something you have a strong label for. It could be something you consider one of the best things that ever happened to you, or something you consider one of the worst. Hold that event in your mind. Feel the certainty of your judgment about it. Now, gently, like the farmer, introduce that one powerful word. Whisper it in your mind. That happened. Maybe. Notice what this does. It's like opening a window in a sealed room. It doesn't deny the event. It doesn't erase the memory. It simply introduces the possibility of a larger story. It honors the vast, mysterious, and unpredictable nature of reality. It frees you from being the prisoner of a single, rigid interpretation of your own life. Living like the neighbors means your inner peace is a fragile thing, constantly being given and taken away by the world. Living like the farmer means you are cultivating a peace that is unshakable, a peace that comes not from controlling life's events, but from changing your relationship to them. It is the peace of radical acceptance, profound humility, and an open, trusting heart. So as you continue to sit, let go of the need to be the narrator who knows everything. Let go of the need to label and to judge. When memories or worries about the future arise, meet them with the quiet, spacious wisdom of the farmer. Let your mind be as vast and as patient as the rolling hills of his village. Let your heart be as steady as his simple, two-word reply. Whatever arises, meet it with the deep, liberating peace of maybe. 10. The art of doing nothing. Wu Wei. In the quiet space we have cultivated, I want to address one of the most powerful and countercultural ideas that this practice has to offer. It is the wisdom of non-doing. In our society, these words can sound like heresy. We live in a civilization that worships at the altar of productivity. Our value as human beings is often measured by our output, by the length of our to-do lists, by the fullness of our calendars. We are not human beings so much as human doings. We are taught to hustle, to grind, to optimize every spare moment. We listen to podcasts while we exercise, check emails while we eat, and plan our next day while we try to fall asleep. The very idea of simply doing nothing can trigger feelings of guilt, anxiety, and laziness. We fear that if we stop moving, we will be left behind, that we will be deemed worthless. We have become terrified of empty space, both in our schedules and in our minds. But what has this relentless cult of doing given us? For many, it has led to a state of chronic exhaustion, to burnout, to a pervasive anxiety that hums just beneath the surface of our lives. We are more connected than ever, yet we feel more disconnected from ourselves. Our creativity withers under the pressure to constantly produce. Our intuition is drowned out by the noise of our own frantic activity. We have become masters of forcing, pushing, and struggling. But we have forgotten the art of allowing, of flowing, of being. The path of Zen, along with its close cousin Taoism, offers a radical antidote to this modern sickness. It is a principle known as Wu Wei. These words are often translated as non-doing or effortless action, but this doesn't capture its true essence. Wu Wei is not about passivity, laziness, or apathy. It is not about sitting on the couch and letting life pass you by. It is the practice of a higher form of effectiveness, an action that arises from a place of deep stillness and alignment with the natural flow of life, rather than from the tense, anxious striving of the ego. To understand this, let's distinguish between two kinds of action. The first is the action of force, which we can call ego doing. This is the action we are most familiar with. It is born from a sense of lack, a need to control, a desire to impose our will upon the world. It is tense, rigid, and often feels like a struggle. It's trying to force a creative idea when your mind is blank. It's trying to dominate a conversation to prove a point. It's micromanaging a project because you don't trust the process. This is the energy of swimming against the current. It is incredibly inefficient and ultimately, it leads to burnout. Wu Wei is the second kind of action, the action of flow. It arises from a place of quiet observation, intuition, and trust. It is supple, responsive, and feels natural, almost effortless. This is the energy of a master surfer. Imagine a beginner learning to surf. They see a wave coming and they paddle frantically. Their muscles tense. They try to force themselves onto the wave, fighting the water, struggling for balance. They are exhausted after only a few minutes, battered and bruised by the ocean. This is ego doing. Now watch the master surfer. She sits on her board, quietly, patiently. She is not fighting the ocean. She is studying it. She is feeling its deep rhythms, its swells and currents. She is not imposing her own timetable. She is waiting for the right wave, the right moment. And when that moment comes, she doesn't act with frantic force. She acts with a swift, precise, and committed grace. With a few powerful strokes, she aligns herself with the wave's immense energy, and then she rises. She is not overpowering the wave. She is dancing with it. Her action is a perfect blend of intense activity and profound relaxation. She is using the ocean's own power to carry her forward. This is Wu Wei. So much of our life is spent being the frantic beginner, trying to punch the waves of our circumstances into submission. We try to force a relationship to work. We try to force our children to be a certain way. We try to force our career onto a predetermined path. We exhaust ourselves, and we wonder why life feels like such a struggle. This silent retreat you are engaged in right now is your training ground for becoming the master surfer. This doing nothing is the most important part of the practice. It is the time you spend sitting on the board, just watching the ocean of your own mind. You are learning to feel its currents, the flow of your thoughts, the swell of your emotions. You are learning to stop struggling, to stop fighting every wave. From this place of stillness, a new intelligence begins to emerge. It's the intelligence of the farmer who plants a seed. He knows he cannot pull on the sprout to make it grow faster. He cannot command a harvest in the middle of winter. His work is not one of forceful control, but of wise alignment. He provides the right conditions: good soil, water, sunlight. He protects the young plant from harm, and then he trusts the natural process of growth to unfold in its own time. His action is a partnership with nature, not a war against it. Our silent sitting is how we create the right conditions in the soil of our own mind. By quieting the frantic doing, we allow the seeds of insight, creativity, and wisdom that are already dormant within us to finally sprout. The solution to a problem you've been wrestling with for weeks might suddenly appear, not when you are forcing it, but when you are here, in the shower, or walking in nature in a moment of Wu Wei. The perfect words for a difficult conversation might arise naturally when you stop rehearsing your script and instead listen from a place of stillness. This requires a radical trust in the process. It is the trust that if you stop trying to control everything for a little while, you are not abdicating responsibility. you are actually plugging into a deeper source of power and intelligence. This silence is not empty. It is a fertile void. It is the sharpening of the axe before we chop the wood. The world tells you, don't just sit there, do something. The wisdom of Zen and Taoism whispers, don't just do something, sit there. How can we carry this art into our busy lives? We can start by sprinkling moments of non-doing throughout our day. Embrace the pause. Before you fire off a reactive email, pause. Take 3 conscious breaths. Before you jump from one task to the next, pause. Look out the window for 30 seconds. These small pockets of stillness interrupt the momentum of frantic doing and create a space for wiser action to emerge. Practice single tasking. When you wash the dishes, just wash the dishes. Feel the warm water, see the soap bubbles. Don't try to solve your work problems at the same time. By giving your full, relaxed attention to one thing at a time, you are practicing a form of Wu Wei. The action becomes more graceful and less of a chore. Listen to your problems. When faced with a difficult challenge, instead of immediately brainstorming forceful solutions, try listening to the problem. Sit with it. Feel the discomfort of it. Hold it in your awareness without needing to fix it right away. Like the farmer, trust that if you create the right conditions, the path forward will become clear. This practice of Wu Wei is the ultimate act of self-compassion. It is the recognition that we are not machines. It is the permission to align ourselves with the graceful, powerful, and sustainable rhythms of life itself. The stillness you are cultivating here is not an escape from your life. It is the very source of a life lived with less struggle, more grace, and a quiet, unshakable power. It is the discovery that by doing less, in the right way, you can accomplish so much more. 11. Beginner's mind. Shoshin. There is a beautiful and essential concept in Zen known as Shoshin, which translates as beginner's mind. The great Zen master Shunryu Suzuki, who was so instrumental in bringing this practice to the West, said, "In the beginner's mind there are many possibilities, but in the expert's mind there are few." As we sit here, having journeyed so far into the landscape of our own being, this is a perfect time to explore this profound teaching. Because the longer we practice, the more we risk losing the very quality that makes practice alive. Let us first examine this expert mind. As we navigate through life, we gather experiences, facts, and opinions. We learn how things work. We become efficient. This is necessary for survival. But over time, a subtle calcification occurs. We begin to think we know. We know who we are. We know who our partner is. We know what a tree is. We know what to expect from a rainy day. This knowing feels safe. It gives us a sense of mastery and control. But this expert mind, with its heavy burden of accumulated knowledge, slowly becomes a prison. Imagine the expert mind as a room where all the furniture is already in place. The paintings are hung. The books have all been read and neatly shelved. The windows look out onto a familiar, unchanging view. There is no space for anything new. When a new experience comes to the door, the expert mind immediately compares it to a piece of furniture it already owns. "Oh, that's just another one of those," it says, and dismisses it without truly letting it in. The expert mind is a museum curator of the past, not an explorer of the present. It lives in a world of reruns, and it is often bored, cynical, and tired. It has seen it all before. The beginner's mind is the opposite. It is a wide-open field under a vast sky, with no fences. It is a mind that is empty, and therefore ready for anything. It is the mind of a child seeing a caterpillar for the first time, filled not with knowledge, but with wonder. The child doesn't know the caterpillar's scientific name or its life cycle. It just sees the miracle of this strange, furry creature, the way it moves, the magic of its being. This mind is alive, curious, flexible, and filled with boundless possibility. Where did we lose this beginner's mind, which was our natural birthright? We lost it piece by piece. We lost it in school, where we were rewarded for having the one right answer, not for asking interesting questions. We lost it in our social lives, where we learned to quickly categorize people to feel safe and superior. But most of all, we lose it through the simple, dulling force of habit. The human brain is a brilliant pattern-making machine. The first time you drive to a new job, you see everything. The houses, the trees, the shops. The 100th time you make that drive, you arrive at work with no memory of the journey at all. Your brain has created a shortcut. This efficiency is useful, but it comes at a terrible cost. The cost of our aliveness. We begin to sleepwalk through our own lives. The practice of Shoshin is the practice of waking up from this sleep of the familiar. It is the choice to dismantle the prison of the expert mind, brick by brick. Let us see how this applies to our relationships. So often, we interact not with the living, breathing person in front of us, but with a fixed mental model we have of them. We think we know our spouse, our parent, our child. We know what they're going to say before they say it. We know their faults and their patterns. So we stop listening. We hear their first few words, and the expert mind immediately accesses the file we have on them and says, "Ah, here we go again." In that moment, the real person vanishes, and we are left arguing with a ghost from the past. This is the death of intimacy. Beginner's mind is the willingness to let go of your file. It is the courage to meet your loved one in this moment, without the baggage of all your previous moments. It is to listen to them as if you have no idea what they will say next. It is to see them as the mystery they truly are. This is an act of profound love. In our work, in our creativity, the expert mind is the voice of stagnation. It is the voice that says, "This is how we've always done it." It's the voice that is afraid to ask a dumb question or try a new approach for fear of looking foolish. Beginner's mind is the source of all innovation and breakthrough. It is the scientist who is willing to question a fundamental law. It is the artist who is willing to throw out their old style and experiment with something new. It is the willingness to be a novice, to be clumsy, to not know. The master in any field is not the one with the most answers, but the one who has managed to preserve the beginner's curiosity. But perhaps most importantly, we can apply Shoshin to the fabric of our everyday experience as a direct antidote to the boredom and mundanity of life. Let me invite you to try this now. I invite you to look at your own hand. You have seen this hand a million times. Your expert mind says, "Yes, hand, got it, what's next?" But for this moment, let's invite beginner's mind. Look at your hand as if you have never seen it before. See it not as a hand, but as a landscape. Notice the intricate web of tiny lines on your palm, like a river delta. Notice the different shades of color in your skin. See the shape and texture of your fingernails, the small hairs on your knuckles. See the way the light falls on it, creating soft shadows. Feel the temperature of it. Move your fingers and watch this incredible, familiar, yet alien machinery in action. For a moment, this ordinary hand becomes an object of profound mystery and wonder. You can do this with anything: a cup of tea, a crack in the sidewalk, the face of a stranger. The world is only boring because we have stopped looking at it. Shoshin re-enchants the world. Finally, we must apply beginner's mind to this very practice of meditation. As we sit, the expert mind is always there, judging. This is a good meditation. I'm so calm. This is a bad meditation. My mind is all over the place. I should be better at this by now. Last time I felt so peaceful. Why don't I feel that way now? This is the expert, comparing and striving. Beginner's mind approaches this sit, this breath, with no expectations. It doesn't matter what happened 5 minutes ago or yesterday. All that matters is this present moment's experience. Is the mind busy? Okay, the practice is to be with a busy mind with curiosity. Is the body restless? Okay, the practice is to be with a restless body with curiosity. There is no such thing as a good or bad meditation. There is only experience, met with the open, non-judgmental spirit of a beginner. This is the freedom of the "I don't know" mind. In our culture, saying "I don't know" is often seen as a sign of weakness. In Zen, it is a position of supreme power. It is the doorway through which all new learning, all new insights, and all true connection must pass. It is the wisdom of the farmer's maybe. It is the dissolving of arrogance and the birth of wonder. So, as we continue our sit, I invite you to let go of everything you think you know. Let go of what you know about meditation. Let go of what you know about yourself. Let go of being the expert. Become, for these precious moments, the ultimate beginner. Meet each breath as if it is your first. Meet each sound as if you are hearing for the first time. Meet each thought as a curious, unexpected visitor. Abandon the cramped, dusty museum of your knowledge and step out into the wide-open, windswept field of not knowing. This is where life is truly lived. This is the secret to staying awake until your very last breath. 12. The unwelcome teacher, finding wisdom in suffering, dukkha. As we settle more deeply into this shared silence, having opened our hearts to the wisdom of impermanence and the freedom of the beginner's mind, we are now ready to turn towards the very foundation of the Buddhist path. It is a truth that can, at first, sound harsh or pessimistic. It is the first noble truth spoken by the Buddha after his enlightenment, the truth of the existence of suffering. In the ancient Pali language, this word is dukkha. When we hear the word suffering, our minds immediately conjure images of great tragedy, intense pain, disease, and loss. And dukkha certainly includes these things, but to limit it to only these extremes is to miss the subtle genius of the teaching. The Buddha was not simply stating the obvious fact that life includes pain. He was pointing to a much deeper, more pervasive quality of human experience. So, let's look at this concept not as a grim diagnosis, but as a wise and compassionate map of our own hearts. Dukkha can be understood to have at least 3 distinct textures or flavors. The first is the one we all know, the suffering of pain, dukkha. This is the unavoidable pain of having a human body, the pain of sickness, injury, and the inevitable processes of aging and death. It is the raw emotional pain of grief when we lose someone we love, the sting of rejection, the ache of heartbreak. This level of dukkha is a given. It is a non-negotiable part of the contract of being alive. To deny it is to live in delusion. The second flavor is the suffering of change, viparinama dukkha. This ties directly to the wisdom of impermanence we have already explored. This is the subtle suffering that arises from the fact that pleasant things do not last. It is the sadness that tinges the last day of a beautiful vacation. It is the anxiety we feel when we are happy, the quiet fear that this good feeling will end. It is the frustration that comes when a cherished possession breaks, or when a state of peacefulness in our meditation is replaced by a restless mind. This form of suffering is not caused by pain, but by our clinging to pleasure. It is the friction created by our desire to freeze a flowing river. The third, and most subtle flavor, is the suffering of conditioned existence, sankhara dukkha. This is the pervasive, background hum of unsatisfactoriness that often characterizes our lives. It is the feeling that something is missing. It is the restlessness that keeps us scrolling through our phones, looking for something to fill a void we cannot name. It is the subtle stress of constantly upholding the story of me, defending our opinions, managing our image, comparing ourselves to others. It is the inherent friction of being a separate, fragile ego in a world that rarely conforms to our expectations. For many of us in the modern world, this subtle, existential angst is the most constant and baffling form of our suffering. When the Buddha said, "There is suffering," he was not passing a gloomy judgment on life. He was making a courageous and clear-eyed diagnosis. He was like a kind doctor, pointing to the source of our dis-ease so that we might finally understand its nature and find a path to healing. This is the next profound shift in perspective that this practice offers us. To begin to relate to our suffering not as an enemy, a punishment, or a personal failure, but as an unwelcome teacher, a wise messenger. Think of physical pain. If you place your hand on a hot stove, the pain you feel is not the enemy. It is a vital, intelligent signal from your body, screaming, "Move your hand." To get angry at the pain would be foolish. You should be grateful for the message. In the same way, our emotional and psychological suffering is a signal. It is a check engine light for the soul. It is telling us that we are, in some way, living out of alignment with reality. When you feel the sharp sting of resentment, it is a messenger. It might be pointing to a boundary that has been crossed and needs to be reestablished. It might be pointing to an old wound that has never been properly healed. When you feel the grip of anxiety, it is a messenger. It is likely telling you that your mind is living too much in an imagined, catastrophic future and has lost its connection to the present moment. When you feel the ache of loneliness, it is a messenger, pointing to a deep human need for connection that is not being met. Our habit is to shoot the messenger. We feel anxiety, so we numb it with distraction. We feel grief, so we suppress it and pretend we are fine. We feel anger, so we blame someone else. In doing so, we miss the vital information the message is carrying. We keep our hand on the hot stove and wonder why we are still in pain. The practice of mindfulness is the practice of learning to welcome the messenger. It is the courage to sit down, be still, and say, "Okay, I'm ready to listen. What are you trying to tell me?" This is where we can again see the wisdom of the two arrows. The first arrow is the initial pain, the difficult diagnosis, the end of the relationship, the feeling of anxiety. This arrow is often unavoidable, but the second arrow is the one we fire into ourselves. It is our resistance, our story about the pain. This shouldn't be happening. Why me? It's not fair. I can't bear it. This second arrow is what turns pain into prolonged suffering. It is the argument with reality, and you can never win an argument with reality. Our meditation practice is the training ground for learning to sit with the sting of the first arrow without firing the second. When a difficult feeling or sensation arises during our sit, we don't immediately push it away. We don't numb it. We don't weave a story of blame around it. We practice what we have learned. We recognize it. Ah, here is that feeling of fear. We allow it to be there, creating a space for it. We investigate it with gentle curiosity. What does this actually feel like in my body? We look under the hood, and we nurture ourselves with compassion for having to experience this pain. By doing this, we are fundamentally transforming our relationship with discomfort. We are moving from being a victim of our suffering to being a student of it. We are building our capacity to bear what is difficult with grace and wisdom. We are learning that we are far more resilient than we believed. This leads us to one of the most beautiful and hopeful images in all of Buddhism, the lotus flower. The lotus is a symbol of enlightenment, purity, and beauty. Its blossom is pristine and radiant. But where does the lotus flower grow? It does not grow on a pristine, sterile mountaintop. The lotus grows only out of the thick, dark, smelly mud at the bottom of a pond. The mud is dukkha. The mud is the messiness of our lives, our failures, our heartbreaks, our confusion, our pain. The mud is not an obstacle to the lotus. The mud is the necessary food. The lotus draws its nourishment from the very muck that we would normally try to avoid. Without the mud, there can be no lotus. This is the final, profound reframing of suffering. It is not just a teacher to be listened to. It is the very soil, the rich, fertile ground out of which our own wisdom, compassion, and beauty can grow. Our greatest strengths are often forged in our deepest challenges. The compassion we feel for others is often born from our own experience of pain. The wisdom we gain comes from navigating our own confusion. We do not find enlightenment by avoiding life's mud. We find it by rooting ourselves in it and allowing our hearts to blossom right here in the midst of it all. So, as you continue to sit, I invite you to change your posture towards any difficulty that may be present. If there is physical pain, emotional discomfort, or mental restlessness, see if you can, just for a moment, stop treating it as an enemy. See if you can honor it as an unwelcome teacher. See if you can feel it as the fertile mud. There is nothing wrong with you for feeling it. It is not a sign that your practice is failing. It is a sign that your practice is beginning. It is life, offering you the very nourishment you need to grow. 13. The parable of the raft, the wisdom of letting go. Over the course of this journey together, we have explored many profound concepts and engaged in several practices. We have looked at the nature of the mind, the flow of feelings, the wisdom of impermanence, the illusion of a fixed self, the law of suffering, and the grace of non-doing. These ideas and techniques can be incredibly helpful. They can be illuminating. They can be a source of great comfort and strength. But now, we must address our relationship to the teachings themselves. For this, there is no greater guide than another of the Buddha's great parables, the parable of the raft. I invite you to picture a person standing on the bank of a wide and dangerous river. This near shore is the world of our ordinary, confused existence. It is a place of fear, of conflict, of being swept away by the currents of desire and aversion. The person looks across the water and sees a far shore, a shore that looks safe, peaceful, and free. This far shore is the goal of our practice. a state of liberation, of peace, of awakening. The river between these two shores is wide and treacherous, with no bridge and no ferry. To stay on the near shore is to remain in a state of perpetual danger and dissatisfaction. To get to the far shore is the ultimate desire. So, the person, being resourceful and determined, decides to build a raft. They gather grass, sticks, branches, and vines. They work diligently, lashing the pieces together, applying themselves to the task with focus and effort. This hard work is our spiritual practice. It is the effort we put into sitting, into watching our minds, into cultivating compassion and wisdom. Finally, the raft is complete. The person pushes it into the water, climbs aboard, and using their hands and feet, begins to paddle. They struggle against the strong currents, but the raft is sturdy. It keeps them afloat. It carries them through the dangerous waters. And eventually, after much effort, they arrive safely on the far shore. They have crossed the river. They are safe. They are free. The raft has saved their life. Now, standing on this shore of liberation, the person looks back at the raft with immense gratitude, and they are faced with a question. What should they do with the raft? One option is to think, this raft has been so useful to me. It saved my life. I worked so hard to build it. It would be ungrateful and foolish to abandon it now. I will carry it with me on my journey, just in case I come across another river. And so, they hoist the heavy, cumbersome raft onto their back and begin their journey on the new land, burdened and weighed down by the very thing that once set them free. The other option, the Buddha said, is for the person to think, this raft was incredibly useful for crossing the river, but now I am on dry land. Its purpose has been served. To carry it further would not be a help, but a hindrance. And so, with a heart full of gratitude, they push the raft back into the water for another to use, or they leave it on the riverbank, and they walk onto the new shore, light, unburdened, and truly free. The Buddha then asked his monks, which person is acting more wisely? The answer, of course, is the one who leaves the raft behind. Then came the crucial point. In the same way, the Buddha said, I have taught the Dhamma, the teachings, as being like a raft, for the purpose of crossing over, not for the purpose of holding on to. This is a teaching of profound spiritual maturity. All the concepts we have discussed here, anicca, dukkha, anatta, shoshin, wu-wei, are part of the raft. All the techniques, watching the breath, labeling thoughts, noting sensations, are part of the raft. This very guided meditation, these words you are hearing right now, are part of the raft. They are tools. They are fingers pointing at the moon. They are not the moon itself. Our great danger on the spiritual path is to fall in love with the raft. We can become so attached to the concepts that we spend all our time debating them, analyzing them, and turning them into a rigid intellectual system. We become scholars of the finger, and we never once look up at the moon of our own direct experience. We can become so attached to a specific technique that we think it is the only way, judging others who practice differently. We can become so attached to the forms and rituals of a tradition that we mistake the outer form for the inner substance. We can even become attached to our identity as a practitioner. I am a Buddhist. I am a meditator. This identity can become just another piece of furniture in the cluttered room of the mind, another story for the ego to defend. We can use our practice to feel superior to others. When this happens, the raft is no longer a tool for liberation. It has become a very subtle and elegant prison. We have hoisted it onto our backs and are now carrying it as a heavy burden, believing our burden makes us special. The purpose of all these teachings is to become obsolete. Their entire function is to guide you to a place of direct, unmediated knowing, a place where you no longer need the map because you have arrived at the destination. You no longer need to be told that things are impermanent. You feel the flow of reality in your very bones. You no longer need to be reminded to be compassionate. Your heart simply responds with open kindness. You no longer need to analyze the concept of no self. You rest in the spacious, open awareness that you have discovered as your true nature. This doesn't mean the teachings are not important. You cannot cross the river without a raft. A person drowning in the currents of their own confusion needs these structures, these techniques, these clear instructions. We must build our raft with diligence and care. We must apply ourselves to the practice with sincerity and wholehearted effort. We must use the tools as skillfully as we can. We honor the raft by using it well, but we must also hold it lightly. We must be willing to question it, to test it against our own experience. Is this teaching, this technique, helping me to be more free, more compassionate, more peaceful right now? If yes, use it with gratitude. If no, perhaps it is a part of the raft that is not needed for this particular stretch of the river. Be willing to let it go. The ultimate goal of this path is not to accumulate a great deal of Buddhist knowledge. It is not to become a perfect meditator who never has a distracting thought. The goal is to become free, and freedom means walking unburdened. It means trusting the ground of your own being. It is the freedom of the farmer who can rest in, maybe. It is the freedom of the surfer who can dance with the waves. It is the freedom of the sky that allows all clouds to pass without being stained. So, as we continue to sit, I invite you to hold all of these instructions, all of these parables and concepts, with a light and open hand. See them as helpful suggestions from a friend who has walked a similar path. Use what is useful, let go of what is not. Let this practice be less about adding new ideas to your mind and more about creating the space for your own innate wisdom to arise. Build your raft, use it well, cross the river, and when you reach the far shore, have the courage and the wisdom to leave it behind and walk freely into the boundless landscape of your own awakened heart. 14. The finger pointing at the moon. Having understood that the teachings are a raft to be left behind on the far shore, let us now refine this understanding with another of Zen's most treasured and insightful metaphors. It speaks to the very heart of how we direct our attention, not just in meditation, but in our entire quest for wisdom. It is the metaphor of the finger pointing at the moon. Imagine, if you will, that you are with a wise teacher on a clear, dark night. The air is still, and a magnificent, full moon hangs in the inky black sky, illuminating the world with its soft, silver light. The teacher, wanting to share this beauty with you, wanting you to see it for yourself, slowly raises a hand and points a single, elegant finger toward the moon. Look, the teacher says, the moon. Now, as the student, you have a choice. A foolish student, the story goes, will become fascinated with the finger. They will stare at it intently. They will study its shape, the lines on the knuckle, the curve of the fingernail. They may praise the elegance of the finger, or compare it to other fingers they have seen. They might even begin to worship the finger, believing the finger itself holds some special, magical quality. They will spend their entire night analyzing the finger, and in doing so, they will completely miss the glorious moon that the finger was trying to show them. A wise student, however, understands the finger's purpose. They see the direction it is pointing. They use it as a guidepost, a temporary aid to orient their gaze. They glance at the finger, say, "Thank you," and then lift their eyes to the sky. They behold the moon itself in all its silent, luminous splendor. They have a direct, personal experience of the moon. The finger has become irrelevant. In our spiritual lives, we are constantly mistaking the finger for the moon. The words we use here, anicca, dukkha, anatta, shoshinari fingers. They are elegant, useful, and point in a very specific direction. But they are not the moon, the direct experience of the ceaseless flow of change in your own body that is the moon. The direct, compassionate recognition of the unsatisfactoriness in your heart that is the moon. The startling, liberating glimpse that there is no fixed self to be found that is the moon. To endlessly read books, learn the ancient languages, and debate the philosophical nuances of these terms without ever looking inward to see their truth directly is to be the foolish student, obsessively studying the finger. The techniques we practice are fingers. The instruction to watch the breath is a finger pointing at the simple, miraculous, and ever-present reality of your own breathing. The technique is not the goal. Becoming a good breath watcher is not the goal. The goal is the direct, intimate experience of being breathed, of being alive in this moment. To become obsessed with the correct technique, to worry that you are doing it wrong, is to get lost in the details of the finger and forget to look up. The stories and parables, the empty boat, the farmer's horse, the raft-tear beautiful fingers. They point toward a way of being that is free and equanimous. But if we simply memorize the stories and can repeat them cleverly, without letting them transform how we actually live and react in the world, then we have only admired the finger. The moon is the actual feeling of spaciousness that arises in your heart when someone cuts you off in traffic and you remember the empty boat. The moon is the quiet stability in your gut when faced with uncertainty, because you have embodied the farmer's maybe. Why do we do this? Why is it so tempting to stare at the finger? Because the finger is close, it is concrete, it is definable. Our intellect, the part of our mind that loves to analyze and categorize, feels safe with the finger. It can grasp it. The moon, however, is vast, mysterious, and ineffable. It cannot be captured in words. It cannot be contained by a concept. It can only be experienced. To look at the moon is to let go of the familiar safety of the intellect and to step into the wide open space of direct, non-conceptual knowing. This can feel vulnerable. Language itself is the ultimate finger. It is a wonderful tool, an indispensable part of our raft. We need language to communicate, to share these teachings. But language is a system of symbols, of labels. The word water cannot quench your thirst. The menu is not the meal. The map is not the territory. And the word awakening is not awakening. We can build the most elaborate and beautiful conceptual palace out of spiritual sounding words. But if we are not having a direct experience of the truths they point to, we are simply living in a very ornate cage. This entire guided meditation, every word that I am speaking, is just a series of fingers pointing. My words are pointing you toward your own inner landscape. They are not that landscape itself. So I invite you now to engage in this practice in a new way. When I offer an instruction, see it as a finger. For example, if I say, bring your awareness to the feeling of your feet on the floor, that is the finger. Hear the words, understand the direction. But then, let go of my words and dive completely into the actual, raw experience. Do it now. Let go of my voice and feel your feet. Feel the pressure, the temperature, the texture of your socks or the floor. Immerse yourself in the pure, non-verbal sensations. That is, the moon. Can you feel the difference? The difference between thinking about your feet and directly experiencing them? That difference is the entire path. Let's try again. The finger is the instruction. Listen to the sounds around you. Now, let go of the finger. Don't think, I am listening. Just listen. Merge with the soundscape. Become the hearing. Let the pure vibrations of the world wash through your awareness without any labels. That is the moon. The purpose of this practice is not to become a connoisseur of fingers. It is not to collect spiritual concepts and techniques to decorate our ego. The purpose is to become a lover of the moon. It is to fall in love with the raw, unfiltered, and miraculous reality of our own immediate experience. This requires you to trust yourself. You must learn to trust your own capacity for direct seeing more than you trust any external authority, any book, any teacher, or any set of words. The teachings can point the way, but you are the only one who can walk the path. You are the only one who can see the moon with your own eyes. So, as we continue our sit, I encourage you to hold my words and all teachings very lightly. Use them as guideposts. But the moment they have oriented you, let them dissolve. Let go of the finger and be with the moon. The moon is the feeling of this breath. The moon is the warmth in your chest. The moon is the silence between sounds. It is right here. It has been waiting for you this whole time. All you have to do is look up. 15. The teacup and the master's wisdom. The courage to be empty. In our exploration of the path, we have talked about the teachings as a raft to be left behind and as a finger pointing at the moon. Both parables warn us against clinging to concepts. Now, let us examine the state of mind that is required to even begin to understand these teachings in the first place. This brings us to one of the most elegant and pointed stories in the Zen tradition, a story about a simple cup of tea. Picture, if you will, a learned university professor. He is a man of great intellect and reputation, a scholar who has spent his entire life studying the philosophies of the world. He has read all the great books, he can argue complex metaphysical points, and he has written acclaimed papers on comparative religion. He becomes intrigued by Zen, seeing it as another system to master, another jewel to add to his intellectual crown. He travels a great distance to visit an old Zen master, seeking to learn the secrets of this enigmatic tradition. He arrives at the master's humble temple and is invited in for tea. As they sit, the professor, full of nervous energy and intellectual pride, begins to talk and talk and talk. He speaks of all the philosophies he has studied, drawing parallels, making distinctions, and explaining his own elaborate theories about what he thinks Zen must be. He explains how it relates to existentialism, how its paradoxes mirror the works of certain poets, how its psychological insights predate modern psychoanalysis. He is a fountain of knowledge, a torrent of words. The old Zen master listens patiently, his face serene and unreadable. He says nothing. As the professor talks, the master begins to prepare the tea. He performs the simple actions with a quiet, deliberate grace. He warms the pot, rinses the cups, and pours the hot water over the leaves. The rich aroma of green tea fills the small room. The master picks up the teapot and begins to pour a cup for the professor. He pours the fragrant, steaming tea, and the cup fills to the brim. And then he keeps pouring. The tea overflows. It runs down the side of the delicate porcelain cup. It forms a puddle on the saucer. It spills onto the simple wooden table, staining the grain. The professor, momentarily stunned into silence by this bizarre act, watches the waste with alarm. Finally, he can't contain himself any longer. "Stop," he shouts, gesturing at the overflowing cup. "It's full. Can't you see? No more will go in." The old master stops pouring. He puts down the teapot, looks directly into the professor's eyes for the first time, and says, softly, "Like this cup, you are full of your own opinions and speculations. How can I show you Zen unless you first empty your cup?" In that moment, the room is filled with a deafening silence. The only sound is the drip, drip, drip of the wasted tea falling from the table to the floor. This story is a perfect illustration of the greatest barrier to true learning, both in spiritual life and in every other aspect of our existence. A full cup. We all walk around with our cups filled to the brim. We are so full of what we already know that there is no space for anything new to enter. What is this tea that fills our cup? It is the sediment of a lifetime of conditioning. It is our collection of rigid opinions about politics, about religion, about how people should behave. It is our prejudices, our snap judgments, our unconscious biases. It is our academic knowledge, our professional expertise, our pride in being well-informed. It can even be our spiritual knowledge, all the books we've read, the workshops we've attended, the concepts we believe we've mastered. Our ego is very proud of this full cup. It parades it around, showing off its contents. But this fullness, which we mistake for a great treasure, is actually a heavy burden. It makes us defensive, it makes us rigid, and it closes us off from the fresh, living reality of the present moment. To empty your cup is the essential first step. But what does this mean in practice? It does not mean becoming stupid or ignorant. It does not mean forgetting all the useful information you have learned. The master is not advocating for a vacant mind, but for a receptive mind. Emptying your cup is the practice of holding your knowledge lightly. It is the subtle but profound shift in attitude from "this is what I know" to "this is what I think I know." For now, it is the humility to recognize that our knowledge is always incomplete, a tiny island in a vast ocean of mystery. It is the scientific spirit of being willing to discard our most cherished theory the moment new evidence from our direct experience contradicts it. Emptying your cup is the art of truly listening. The professor in the story was not listening. He was waiting for a pause in his own monologue so he could dispense more of his own knowledge. How often do we do this in our own lives? We listen to a friend or a partner, but our mind is busy formulating our rebuttal, our advice, our counter-argument. We are not listening to understand. We are listening to reply. To empty your cup is to offer another person the gift of a silent, spacious attention. To listen with the genuine intention of discovering something new, without knowing what that will be. Most fundamentally, emptying your cup is the courage to embrace the don't-know mind we explored in the on-shoshin, or beginner's mind. It is the willingness to say those three most liberating words: "I don't know." In our culture, this is seen as a failure, but in Zen, it is the highest wisdom. It is the only possible starting point for genuine discovery. The person who thinks they know all the answers cannot learn anything. The person who is brave enough to rest in not knowing has a mind that is open, curious, and ready to be shown the moon. This very practice of silent meditation is a direct method for emptying your cup. As you sit here, you are not being asked to accumulate more information. You are being invited to let go. Every time you notice you are lost in a chain of opinions or complex analysis, and you gently return to the simple, non-conceptual feeling of your breath, you are emptying your cup. Every time you allow a sound to be just a sound, without layering a story on top of it, you are emptying your cup. The silence itself is the great emptier. Our ego, the part of us that is so proud of its full cup, thrives on noise, debate, validation, and complexity. It starves in the quiet simplicity of the present moment. As you sit in silence, the muddy sediment of your opinions and beliefs has a chance to settle. And as it settles, you may begin to see, for the first time, the clear, pure water of your own awareness that was always there, underneath. There is a beautiful paradox here. The person who is certain their cup is full is, in reality, empty of true wisdom. Their mind is a closed system, stagnant and incapable of growth. The person who consciously and courageously keeps their cup empty is always receptive, always open, always learning. In their emptiness, they become truly full of life, full of wonder, full of a wisdom that is not a collection of stale ideas, but a living, breathing engagement with reality as it is. So I invite you now, in this moment, to perform this act of emptying. Mentally, take the teacup of your mind and tip it over. Let it all pour out. Let go of what you think you know about Zen. Let go of what you think you know about meditation. Let go of what you think you know about yourself, your problems, and your potential. Let go of being the expert. Let go of having the answer. For these next few moments, simply be here. Be empty. Be open. Be receptive. Rest in the quiet, spacious humility of not knowing. This emptiness is not a void. It is a space of infinite potential. It is the clearing in the forest where the light can finally shine in. It is the silent temple where the Master's true teaching can finally be heard. 16. The parable of the two wolves, the choice of what to feed. As we continue to sit in this shared stillness, having explored the wisdom of letting go of what we think we know, we arrive at a very practical and potent question. If our cup is empty, if we are open and receptive, what do we then choose to cultivate within ourselves? Our inner world is not always a peaceful landscape. More often, it feels like a battleground, a place of deep conflict between our better angels and our inner demons. For this, we turn to a powerful story, one that has been told in various forms across many wise cultures. It speaks directly to this inner struggle and offers us the key to transforming it. An old Cherokee elder is teaching his grandson about life. He says to the boy, "A fight is going on inside me. It is a terrible fight, and it is between two wolves. One wolf is evil," he continues. "He is anger, envy, sorrow, regret, greed, arrogance, self-pity, guilt, resentment, inferiority, lies, false pride, and ego." He looks at his grandson and says, "The other wolf is good. He is joy, peace, love, hope, serenity, humility, kindness, benevolence, empathy, generosity, truth, compassion, and faith." The grandson thinks about this for a minute and then asks his grandfather, "Which wolf will win?" The old man replies simply, "The one you feed." This simple, profound story holds the key to personal transformation. It tells us that we are not helpless victims of our own inner states. We are not merely a passive battlefield on which these two forces wage their war. We are the ones who hold the food. We have agency. The character of our mind, the emotional tone of our life, is not a fixed destiny but a garden that we are actively cultivating, moment by moment, with the power of our attention. Let us look closely at this act of feeding. What does it actually mean? The food for these two wolves is one thing and one thing only: your attention, your engagement. What you focus on grows. What you engage with, you strengthen. Let's look at how we feed the dark wolf, the wolf of separation and suffering. We feed the anger wolf when we endlessly replay a hurtful conversation in our minds, rehearsing all the clever things we wish we had said. We feed the envy wolf when we scroll through social media, meticulously comparing our own messy, real life to the curated, perfect highlight reels of others. We feed the anxiety wolf every time we indulge in a long, elaborate fantasy of future catastrophe, spinning out what-if scenarios that leave us tense and afraid. We feed the resentment wolf when we nurse an old grievance, keeping the memory of the injustice alive and hot in our hearts. The fuel for this dark wolf is rumination. It is our narrative engagement. It's not the initial flicker of anger that is the problem, that is just a natural human emotion. The problem is that we take that flicker and we throw log after log onto the fire, with stories of blame, injustice, and self-pity, until it becomes a raging inferno that consumes our peace. Now, let's look at how we feed the light wolf, the wolf of connection and well-being. This is a more conscious, intentional act. We feed the joy wolf when we deliberately pause to savor a simple pleasure, the taste of a fresh strawberry, the warmth of the sun on our skin, the beauty of a piece of music without distraction. We feed the gratitude wolf when we take a moment at the end of the day, not to list our failures, but to consciously call to mind 3 things we are thankful for, no matter how small. We feed the compassion wolf every time we perform a small, intentional act of kindness, letting someone go ahead of us in line, offering a sincere compliment, truly listening to a friend without needing to fix them. We feed the hope wolf when we choose to read or listen to stories of human courage and benevolence, rather than exclusively consuming a diet of outrage and disaster from the news. We feed the serenity wolf every single time we sit down for this practice. Every time we notice our mind has wandered, and we gently, without judgment, return our attention to the simple, peaceful reality of our own breath. The entire practice of mindfulness we have been cultivating here is the foundation for this wise choice. Mindfulness itself is not about feeding one wolf or the other. Mindfulness is the moment of waking up and realizing, there is a fight happening. It is the moment you become aware of which wolf is currently present at the feeding bowl. Without this awareness, we feed the dark wolf unconsciously, out of sheer habit. We get lost in an angry thought, and we don't even realize we've been feeding it for the past 10 minutes. Mindfulness creates a pause. It is the space between the impulse and the action. In that space, we have the power to choose. The anger wolf comes forward, snarling, demanding the food of blame. Because we are mindful, we can see it clearly, we can acknowledge it, and we can make a choice. We can choose not to give it the story it wants. This brings up a crucial point. The goal is not to hate or annihilate the dark wolf. That would just be feeding another dark wolf, the wolf of self-aggression and inner conflict. A more compassionate Zen perspective would be to see that the dark wolf is often a wounded animal. Its anger is a misguided attempt to protect a part of you that has been hurt. Its anxiety is a misguided attempt to keep you safe from future harm. Its arrogance is a mask for a deep-seated feeling of inferiority. So, the wise practice is not to attack it, but to compassionately disengage from it. You can notice the anger wolf and say inwardly, I see you. I understand you are here because a part of me feels threatened. Thank you for trying to protect me. But right now, I am not going to feed you with stories of blame. I am going to feed the wolf of peace instead. You are not suppressing the emotion. You are acknowledging it, but you are consciously withdrawing its food source, your narrative engagement. Think of your mind as having a diet. Just as the food you eat builds the cells of your body, the mental objects you choose to engage with build the structure of your mind and character. Are you feeding your mind a constant diet of junk, food gossip, outrage, comparison, fear? Or are you choosing a wholesome diet, gratitude, kindness, presence, and learning? The choice is yours in every moment. Let's try a short practice right now. A direct act of feeding the wolf of light. I invite you to bring to mind one small thing you feel genuinely grateful for. It doesn't have to be anything grand. It could be the chair that is supporting you. It could be the simple fact that you are breathing. It could be the memory of a kind word someone once said to you. Choose one thing. And now, let your attention rest entirely on the feeling of gratitude itself. Where do you feel it in your body? Perhaps a warmth in your chest, a softness around your heart. Let go of the story of what you're grateful for and just merge with the pure, beautiful feeling of gratitude itself. Rest here for a few moments, just feeding this feeling with your gentle, sustained attention. This simple act, right now, is an act of profound power. You have just consciously chosen to nourish the wolf of peace and joy within you. You have just demonstrated to yourself that you are not a victim of your moods. You are the gardener of your mind. The path to a peaceful and compassionate life is not about winning one dramatic, final battle against your demons. It is about the thousand small, daily choices of what to feed. It is the consistent, patient cultivation of the good. The dark wolf may never disappear entirely, but if you stop feeding it, it will grow weak and thin. It will no longer be the dominant force in your inner life. The light wolf, nourished by your conscious attention and practice, will grow strong and steady, becoming your faithful guide and your true nature. So, the question the parable leaves us with is not a question for later. It is the question for right now, in this very moment. Which wolf are you feeding? The choice always is yours. 17. The sacred in the ordinary, finding Zen in daily life. As we move toward the final stages of our 3-hour retreat together, a very important question naturally arises. It is a question that sits at the heart of all spiritual practice. This is wonderful, we might think. This stillness, this clarity, this peace. But what happens when this video ends? What happens when I stand up from this cushion or chair and the noise of the world rushes back in? What happens when the phone rings, the emails pile up, the children start shouting, and the traffic is snarled? How do I keep this peace? Does it all just evaporate? This is the challenge of re-entry. It is the feeling that our spiritual life and our real life are two separate, warring countries, and that the peace we find in one is immediately lost upon crossing the border into the other. We can begin to believe that peace is only possible in special, protected circumstances, in a meditation cushion, in a quiet room, on a weekend retreat. But the great, liberating secret of Zen is that this separation is an illusion. The goal is not to build a peaceful fortress and hide inside it. The goal is to discover that the entire world can be our monastery. The goal is not to escape our life, but to become fully, wakefully present for our life. The famous Zen saying goes, before enlightenment, chop wood, carry water. After enlightenment, chop wood, carry water. The outer activities of life do not necessarily change. What changes is the quality of our presence, the depth of our attention as we do them. Our true practice begins the moment we stand up. The world, with all its demands and frustrations, is not an obstacle to our practice. It is our practice. The challenge now is to learn how to weave the stillness we've cultivated here into the very fabric of our ordinary, everyday moments. We do this not by making grand, heroic efforts, but through small, simple acts of attention. Let us start with the kitchen. For many Zen masters, the kitchen is the heart of the monastery. It is a place of service, nourishment, and profound practice. Consider the simple, mundane act of washing the dishes. We usually treat this as a chore to be rushed through, so we can get to the real part of our evening, like watching television. Our body is at the sink, but our mind is a million miles away. But what if we decided to wash the dishes as our meditation? We would begin by feeling our feet on the floor, our body standing at the sink. We would turn on the water and notice its temperature on our hands. We would pick up a plate and feel its weight and texture. We would apply the soap and watch the iridescent bubbles form, each one a tiny, perfect sphere. We would hear the sound of the sponge against the ceramic. We would rinse the plate and watch the water cascade over its clean surface. In those few minutes, we are not thinking about our work problems. We are not replaying an argument. We are simply, fully, washing the dishes. As the great Zen master Thich Nhat Hanh wrote, while washing the dishes, one should only be washing the dishes, which means that while washing the dishes, one should be completely aware of the fact that one is washing the dishes. Why? Because we are alive in that moment. To be lost in thought while at the sink is to be a ghost, to be not truly alive. To be fully present for this simple act is to reclaim our life. You can apply this to any chore. Sweeping the floor becomes a rhythmic, moving meditation. Folding laundry becomes a practice in careful attention. Cooking a meal becomes an act of creative love. Let's extend this to another daily ritual, eating and drinking. How often do we consume our meals while staring at a screen, shoveling food into our mouths with no real awareness of taste, texture, or even what we are eating? Let's take the simple act of drinking a cup of tea or coffee. Instead of drinking it on autopilot, What if we made it a 3-minute retreat? We would begin by just holding the warm cup in our hands, feeling its heat seep into our palms. We would notice the color of the liquid. We would bring it to our nose and inhale its rich aroma. Then, we would take a small sip and let the liquid rest in our mouth, fully tasting it before swallowing. We might even take a moment to reflect on all the causes and conditions that brought this simple cup to us. The sun, the rain, the earth that grew the plant, the farmer who tended it, the people who harvested, processed, and transported it. Suddenly, this ordinary cup of tea becomes a nexus of cosmic interconnectedness. It is no longer mundane, it is a miracle, and we are awake for it. The modern world provides us with endless opportunities that we mistake for frustrations. Consider being stuck at a red light in traffic. Our usual reaction is impatience, frustration, anxiety. The mind races. I'm going to be late. But what if we made a new agreement with ourselves? What if every red light became a mindfulness bell? The red light is not a problem. It is an invitation to stop, to take a single, conscious breath, to feel our hands on the steering wheel, to notice the tension in our shoulders and let it go. For 30 seconds, we are not a frustrated driver. We are simply a human being, breathing in our car. The red light becomes a gift of presence. Even the simple act of walking can be a profound practice. When you walk from your car to your office, or from your living room to your kitchen, you are usually lost in thought, your mind already at the destination. But what if you paid attention to the journey? What if, for just a few steps, you felt the actual sensation of your feet making contact with the ground? Heel, ball, toe, left, right. You can use a simple mantra in your mind. Just this step, just this. This simple phrase cuts through the mental noise and brings you back to the direct, physical reality of your experience. The path is not just a means to get somewhere else. The path is the practice. All of these small practices weave a thread of mindfulness through the tapestry of your day. They create anchors of presence that you can return to again and again. This practice also has a profound effect on our relationships. When we are more present, we are more available to others. When you are truly washing the dishes, you are not carrying the stress of your workday into your home. When you are truly listening to your child, without also checking your phone, they feel seen and loved. When you pause before reacting in an argument, you create a space for compassion to enter. Your inner peace ceases to be a selfish project and becomes a gift of stability and kindness that you offer to everyone you meet. The real retreat does not end when these 3 hours are over. The real retreat begins. Your home is your monastery. Your workplace is your practice hall. Your daily chores are your rituals. Every person you meet is your teacher. The goal is not to create a perfect, stress-free, Zen-like life. That is an impossible fantasy. The goal is to bring a Zen-like presence to the messy, imperfect, stressful, beautiful, and wondrous life you already have. It is the discovery of the sacred in the heart of the ordinary. 18. The circle of compassion, karuna and metta. We have journeyed far in these hours together, exploring the inner landscapes of mind and body. We have sought the stability of the mountain and the spaciousness of the sky. We have found a measure of peace in learning to be with our thoughts, feelings, and the unfolding of life with less resistance. This inner work is the essential foundation. But if our practice ends with our own personal peace, it is only half complete. A bird cannot fly with only one wing. In Buddhism, the 2 wings of awakening are wisdom, prajna, and compassion, karuna. The wisdom we have been cultivating, seeing impermanence, understanding no self, recognizing the nature of suffering, is one wing. Now, we must consciously cultivate the other. Our inner peace finds its ultimate meaning and purpose when it blossoms into an open, tender heart that wishes well for all beings. This is not a sentimental afterthought. It is the natural, inevitable fruit of true wisdom. When you truly see the impermanent nature of life, you feel a natural compassion for all beings who are caught in the same flow of arising and passing away. When you truly understand the nature of dukkha, you feel a natural desire for all beings to be free from their suffering. And when you glimpse the truth of no self, the artificial barrier between my pain and your pain begins to dissolve, and the suffering of another feels as real and as urgent as your own. So now, we turn our attention directly to the cultivation of the heart. We will explore two intertwined qualities, karuna, which is compassion, and metta, which is loving kindness. Karuna, or compassion, is the trembling of the heart in the face of suffering. It is not pity, which looks down on another from a position of superiority. Compassion meets another at eye level. It is the ability to be with pain or own or another's without turning away. It is the sincere aspiration, may you be free from your suffering. It is empathy in action. The enemy of compassion is not just cruelty, but also overwhelming grief or despair. True compassion is not drowning in the sorrow of the world, but developing the strength of heart to bear witness to it and respond with wisdom and care. Metta, or loving kindness, is its beautiful counterpart. It is the unconditional wish for all beings to be happy and well. This is not the transactional, preferential love we usually think of. It is not reserved for our family and friends. It is a boundless, radiant goodwill, like the light of the sun. The sun does not decide to shine only on the beautiful gardens and withhold its light from the garbage dumps. It shines its warmth on everything without discrimination. Metta is the practice of cultivating this inner sun, a warmth that we can offer freely to ourselves and to all others, without exception. These qualities are not just passive feelings, they are skills. They are mental muscles that can be intentionally trained and strengthened. The classic method for this is the practice of metta meditation. I invite you to engage in this practice with me now. You don't have to feel anything spectacular. The intention, the gentle repetition of the phrases, is the practice itself. First, find the feeling of your own being, sitting here. And we begin with the most difficult and most essential person to offer this kindness to, ourselves. For so many of us, it is far easier to wish well for others than for ourselves. We are often caught in the habit of harsh self-judgment. So this first step is the foundation for all that follows. If your own well is dry, you cannot offer water to another. Bring a gentle awareness to your heart space. You might even place a hand over your heart to anchor your attention there. And now, silently, gently, offer these phrases to yourself, like a mother whispering to a beloved child. May I be safe. May I be healthy. May I be happy. May I live my life with ease. Don't worry if you don't fully feel it. Don't worry if a voice of criticism arises. Just gently, patiently, repeat the phrases. Let them be a soft rain on the hard ground of your own self-judgment. May I be safe. May I be healthy. May I be happy. May I live with ease. Now, let us expand the circle. Bring to mind a benefactor, someone who has been kind to you in your life. It could be a teacher, a mentor, a friend, or a family member. Someone whose memory naturally brings a smile to your face. Picture them clearly in your mind's eye. And now, direct the light of your goodwill toward them. May you be safe. May you be healthy. May you be happy. May you live your life with ease. Feel the natural flow of warmth and appreciation as you offer these wishes. There is no struggle here. It is easy to wish them well. Just rest in that simple, open-hearted feeling for a few moments. Next, let us stretch the heart a little further. Bring to mind a neutral person. This is someone you see regularly, but have no strong feelings about one way or the other. Perhaps the clerk at the grocery store, the mail carrier, a person you see on your commute, someone you recognize but don't really know. See them in your mind. Recognize that this person, just like you, wants to be happy and wants to avoid suffering. They have their own hopes, their own fears, their own secret sorrows. And now, offer them the same phrases. May you be safe. May you be healthy. May you be happy. May you live your life with ease. Notice what this feels like. We are beginning to dissolve the category of stranger and seeing instead a fellow being who shares the same fundamental desires as we do. We are expanding the circle of our care. Now comes the most challenging and transformative part of the practice. I invite you to bring to mind a difficult person, someone with whom you have conflict, someone who has hurt you, or someone whose actions you strongly disapprove of. Please, choose someone you can work with, not the most traumatic relationship of your life, just a person who represents a challenge for your heart. See them in your mind. Acknowledge the feelings of hurt, anger, or resentment that may arise. Do not suppress them. Allow them to be there. The practice here is not to force yourself to like this person or to condone their harmful actions. The practice is to see if it is possible, as an experiment in freedom for your own heart, to wish them well. We do this by recognizing that their harmful actions almost certainly spring from their own deep suffering, their own confusion, their own empty boat. To wish them happiness is to wish for the causes of their harmful behavior to cease. If it feels too difficult, you can start with a simpler phrase, like, "May you be free from your own anger and pain." Or you can simply hold them in your awareness and say, "To the best of my ability, I wish you well." If you can, try the full phrases. May you be safe. May you be healthy. May you be happy. May you live your life with ease. This is a profound act of dropping the hot coal of resentment. You are not doing this for them. You are doing this for you. You are refusing to let your heart be a prison of bitterness. It is okay if this is difficult. The simple, courageous intention is enough. Finally, having stretched our heart in all these directions, let us now open it completely. Imagine the circle of your loving kindness expanding outwards from your heart. Let it fill the room you are in. Let it extend to everyone in your building, in your neighborhood, in your city. Imagine this light of goodwill touching all the people, young and old, happy and sad. Now, let it expand further to cover your entire country, and further still to encompass the entire planet. See all beings, human and animal, friend, stranger, and enemy, all held in this boundless field of loving kindness. Include all beings in the sky, on the land, and in the oceans. May all beings everywhere be safe. May all beings everywhere be healthy. May all beings everywhere be happy. May all beings everywhere live with ease. Rest for a moment in this boundless, universal wish. There are no borders, no exceptions. It is a radical declaration of our shared existence, our profound interconnectedness. This practice is not magic, it is mental training. And modern neuroscience confirms what ancient contemplatives have known for millennia. Practicing compassion and loving kindness physically alters the brain. It strengthens the neural pathways associated with empathy, happiness, and emotional regulation, while calming the fear centers of the amygdala. It is one of the most effective ways to heal our own hearts and minds. The wisdom we seek is not a cold, distant, intellectual understanding. It is a warm, engaged, and tender wisdom. The peace we seek is not a private, solitary peace. It is the peace that comes from a heart that has made room for the entire world. This is the second wing of the bird. Let us allow it to grow strong so that we may finally take flight. 19. The diamond that cuts through illusion, prajna. We have journeyed together through many landscapes. We have sat with the body, with the mind, with difficult emotions, and with an open heart. We have explored the wisdom of the farmer, the emptiness of the boat, the freedom of the beginner's mind, and the unconditional love of the inner sun. We have cultivated the wing of compassion, karuna. Now, we must turn our full attention to its inseparable partner, the other wing of awakening, prajna. Prajna is a Sanskrit word often translated as wisdom, but this simple English word doesn't begin to capture its depth. It is not the kind of wisdom you find in a book. It is not an accumulation of facts or philosophical arguments. It is not about being clever or well-read. The scholar who visited the Zen master had that kind of knowledge, and his cup was too full to receive anything new. Prajna is transcendent wisdom. It is direct, intuitive, and penetrating insight into the fundamental nature of reality. If ordinary knowledge is like collecting more and more stones to build a fortress of ideas, prajna is like a diamond. It is perfectly clear, incredibly sharp, and has the power to cut through any, especially the illusions that we hold most dear. This practice, at its heart, is about cultivating this diamond of prajna within our own minds. Let us look at the qualities of this diamond. First, it is perfectly clear. A clear diamond has no color, no inclusions, no distortions. It allows light to pass through it perfectly. Prajna is a mind that has been cleansed of its distortions, the three poisons of greed, hatred, and ignorance. It is a mind that is no longer coloring reality with its desires, its aversions, its prejudices, and its fears. It simply sees things exactly as they are. Second, the diamond is sharp. It is the hardest substance known. Its edge can cut through any obstacle. The sharp edge of prajna is the faculty of penetrating insight. It is the tool we use to cut through the thick, tangled jungle of our own confusion. It cuts through our delusions, our rationalizations, our self-deceptions. It reveals the truth, even when the truth is uncomfortable. The entire journey of wisdom practice is about using this diamond of awareness to cut through the three great illusions that cause our suffering. These are the illusions that the teachings on the three marks of existence point us toward. The first cut is through the illusion of permanence. As we have seen, our ordinary mind clings to the idea of solidity and permanence. We believe our happiness, our relationships, our bodies, our very selves are stable and lasting. This belief is the source of our anxiety and grief. The diamond of prajna cuts through this. It doesn't just understand the idea of impermanence, anicca. It directly perceives the constant, vibrant, shimmering, and fizzing nature of reality in every single moment. It sees that every thought, every sensation, every cell in our body is in a state of ceaseless flux. It sees that we are not a solid noun, but a flowing verb. To see this directly is to be liberated from the terror of loss and the anxiety of clinging. You cannot lose what you never truly possessed. The second cut is through the illusion of satisfaction. Our ordinary mind operates under the delusion that lasting, permanent happiness can be found through external things, through acquiring possessions, achieving status, finding the perfect partner, or creating the perfect circumstances. This is the source of our endless, restless striving, our feeling that if only I had X, then I would be happy. The diamond of prajna cuts through this illusion by seeing with perfect clarity the nature of dukkha. It sees precisely how craving and aversion, the constant push and pull of wanting and not wanting, gear the engines of our discontent. It sees this not as a moral failing, but as a simple, impersonal mechanism. By seeing this mechanism clearly, we are no longer enslaved by it. We can begin to unhook from the machine of desire and find a profound peace that is not dependent on getting what we want. The third and deepest cut is through the illusion of a separate self. This is the root delusion, the master illusion from which all others grow. It is the deeply ingrained feeling that I am a solid, continuous, independent entity at the center of my experience. The diamond of prajna turns its sharp, bright light on this self and asks, where is it? What is it? It looks in the body and finds only changing physical processes. It looks in the mind and finds only fleeting thoughts and feelings. It looks, and it cannot find a separate, permanent me. What it finds instead is anatano, self. It finds not a thing, but a process. It finds not separation, but a profound, breathtaking interconnectedness. To cut through the illusion of the separate self is to cut the very root of fear, for who is there to be threatened? It is to cut the root of envy, for who is there to compare? It is to cut the root of loneliness. For how can one be lonely when one is intimately connected to everything? So, how do we cultivate this diamond? How do we sharpen its edge? The method is the very practice we have been engaged in here. It is a twofold process. The first part is called samatha, which means calm, stability, or concentration. This is the act of steadying the mind. A diamond cutter cannot work with a stone that is rattling and shaking. A surgeon cannot perform a delicate operation with trembling hands. In the same way, we cannot see clearly with a mind that is agitated and distracted. Through the simple, patient practice of returning our attention again and again to an anchor like the breath, we are developing samatha. We are allowing the mud of our turbulent thoughts and emotions to settle, so the water of the mind can become clear. This stillness is the necessary foundation for wisdom. The second part is called vipassana, which means to see clearly, or insight. This is the act of investigation. Once the mind has a degree of calmness and stability, samatha, we can then use it as a high-powered microscope to look deeply into the nature of our experience. This is the actual cutting of the diamond. We turn our clear attention to our sensations and see their impermanent nature. We look at our desires and see how they lead to suffering. We look for a self and find only an interconnected flow. This is the prajna aspect of the practice. These two qualities work together, like the two wings of the bird. Stillness makes insight possible, and insight deepens our stillness. The entire 3-hour journey we have taken has been a dance between these two elements, calming the mind, and then using that calm mind to see the world and ourselves with ever-increasing clarity. When this diamond of prajna is developed, it is not something that stays on the meditation cushion. It begins to permeate your entire life. It is the ability to be in a difficult meeting at work and see the underlying fears and insecurities driving people's behavior, the empty boat, rather than just reacting to their words. It is the ability to feel a wave of intense sadness wash over you without becoming identified with it, because you see its impermanent, impersonal nature. It is the wisdom to make life decisions not from a place of egoic ambition or fear, but from a quiet, deep, intuitive knowing. Ultimately, the most beautiful thing about this diamond of wisdom is that it is not something you have to create or acquire. It is not an exotic power that belongs only to robed masters in ancient monasteries. Prajna is the innate nature of your own awareness. It is your birthright. It is the natural clarity of your mind that is currently obscured by the clouds of conditioning, fear, and delusion. This entire practice is not about building something new. It is an act of uncovering. It is a process of patiently, gently, clearing away the clutter, polishing the dirty window, so that the brilliant, diamond-like nature of your own consciousness can shine forth. It is already here. It has always been here. The journey is simply the journey home to the brilliant, unbreakable, and liberating wisdom that lies in the very heart of your own being. 20. The Gateless Gate. Your life is the path. We have come to the end of our allotted time together, to the final teaching of this shared journey into silence. We have built the raft, studied the finger pointing at the moon, emptied our cup, and tended to the wolves within. We have cultivated the wings of wisdom and compassion. And so, the mind, in its habitual way, asks one final question. Where does this path lead? After all this practice, where is the final gate? Where is the entrance to the city of awakening? For this final question, Zen offers its most profound and paradoxical answer. It is an answer contained in the title of a famous collection of Zen koans, the Mumonkan, which translates to the Gateless Gate, or the Gateless Barrier. Imagine a sincere spiritual seeker. They have spent years, perhaps lifetimes, on the path. They have read the scriptures. They have followed the precepts. They have meditated for countless hours. They have crossed the dangerous river on their raft and have wisely left it behind. They have followed the fingers of the masters and have glimpsed the moon. They have done all the work. They are told that at the end of this long and arduous journey, they will come to a great gate. Beyond this gate lies the land of true freedom, the final peace they have been searching for. They walk and walk, their heart filled with anticipation. Finally, they arrive at the location where the great gate is said to be. They look around, ready for the final test, the final key, the final barrier to overcome, and they find nothing. There is no gate, there is no wall, there is no door. There is only wide open space, the same space that was around them for their entire journey. The gate they have spent their whole life striving to reach does not exist. It is, and always has been, gateless. This is the ultimate secret of the path. The liberation we seek is not a future destination we must struggle to attain. The peace we crave is not hidden behind a locked door that we must find the key for. The gate is gateless. It is wide open, right here, in this very moment. The only thing that prevents us from walking through it is our deeply ingrained belief that there is a gate and that it is somewhere else. This belief is the function of the seeking mind. Our mind is conditioned to think in terms of goals, destinations, and achievements. I am here, and peace is over there. I am unenlightened now, but if I practice hard, I will become enlightened in the future. This very mindset, the energy of seeking, constantly reinforces the illusion that what we are looking for is not already present. It is a dog chasing its own tail. The moment the dog stops its frantic chasing, it will find that the tail has been with it all along. The moment we stop seeking for peace in the future, we may discover it in the silent presence of the now. Your life, exactly as it is the gateless gate. Every moment, every experience is the doorway. There is no other. That moment of frustration when you are stuck in traffic is not an obstacle on your path to peace. It is the path. It is the gateless gate of patience. Can you walk through it by meeting the feeling of frustration with the spacious, non-judgmental awareness we have cultivated here? That feeling of mundane boredom on a quiet afternoon is not a sign that your life is lacking. It is the path. It is the gateless gate of presence. Can you walk through it by dropping the story of boredom and becoming intensely curious about the simple, subtle sensations of being alive in that moment? That difficult conversation you must have with a loved one is not a diversion from your spiritual practice. It is your spiritual practice. It is the gateless gate of compassion. Can you walk through it with an empty cup, ready to truly listen? Can you see the empty boat on the other side? That wave of intense joy when you receive good news is not just a pleasant distraction. It too is the path. It is the gateless gate of non-clinging. Can you walk through it by savoring the joy completely, without the anxious grasping that fears its departure, knowing that it too is an impermanent cloud in the vast sky of your mind? Do you see? The challenges of your life are not mistakes. They are your custom-designed curriculum. They are your koans, your personal Zen riddles to be solved not by thinking, but by living. The very circumstances that you wish to escape from are the very location of the gateless gate. All the teachings we have explored in this retreat are simply tools to help you recognize this. The wisdom of impermanence, anicca, shows you that the gate is not a solid thing, but a flowing process. The wisdom of no self, anatta, shows you that there is no separate you on one side of the gate and liberation on the other. You and the gate are one. The practice of beginner's mind, shoshin, is what allows you to see the open space rather than searching for a door you've already imagined. Feeding the wolf of light is the practice of choosing how you want to walk through the gate of this moment. This leads to the final, liberating realization, expressed in the Heart Sutra as no gaining, no attaining. The entire spiritual path is a paradox. We begin with a sincere desire to gain peace and attain enlightenment. This desire is necessary. It gets us onto the raft. But as the practice deepens, we come to see that the peace we were seeking was never gone. It was simply obscured by the noise of our own seeking. The enlightenment we wanted to attain is nothing other than seeing our own life, our own ordinary mind, with perfect clarity. It is not about winning a battle. It is about laying down our arms. It is not about becoming a better, more spiritual person. It is about letting go of the exhausting project of self-improvement and resting in the simple, flawed, beautiful being that you already are. You have already arrived. Let that sink in. You have already arrived. There is nowhere else you need to be. There is no future state of perfection you need to achieve. The far shore and the near shore are the same shore, seen with different eyes. The goal was never to get somewhere else. The goal was to become fully present, right here. The end of this retreat is not an end. It is the true beginning. Your life awaits you, not as a series of problems to be solved, but as a series of gateless gates to be walked through with awareness and an open heart. The practice is no longer something you do for a set period of time. The practice is how you wash your dishes. The practice is how you listen to your partner. The practice is how you meet both sorrow and joy. So as we sit here in these final moments of shared silence, let go of the seeker. Let go of the idea that you are on a journey to somewhere else. Let the journey dissolve into simple, profound arrival. You are here. The gate is open. It has always been open. All that is required is for you to take the next step, which is the next breath, which is your life, unfolding. Walk on. And so, our 3 hours together draw to a close. The sound of my voice will soon fade, and the silence that remains will be entirely your own. Take a final, deep breath with me now. Inhale, and as you exhale, gently let it go. Do you remember the person who began this journey 3 hours ago? Perhaps they arrived here feeling heavy, carrying the weight of 1,000 worries. Perhaps their mind was a cluttered room, so filled with noise there was no space to think, no space to breathe. They came here seeking something, a refuge, a moment of peace, an escape. Look at yourself now. Feel the state of your own heart. What has changed? The world outside has not changed. The challenges of your life are likely still waiting for you. The cluttered room of your mind has not been magically emptied. The waves on the surface of your ocean have not ceased. Something far more profound has happened. You have not gained anything new. You have simply remembered something ancient. You have remembered that you are not the clutter. You are the spacious room in which it appears. You have remembered that you are not the wave. You are the deep, silent, unshakable ocean. You have remembered that this peace you are feeling right now was not given to you by this voice or by this video. It was not imported from somewhere else. This peace is your nature. It is the brilliant, diamond-like clarity of your own awareness, which was here all along, waiting patiently beneath the clouds. You did not create the sun. You simply allowed the clouds to part. This is the great, liberating secret. Peace is not something you must go out and find. It is something you must come home to. And the path home is always through the gateless gate of this present moment. The true retreat, the real practice, begins now. It begins when you stand up. It begins with your very next breath. Carry this stillness with you, not as a fragile treasure you must anxiously protect from the world, but as a deep inner wellspring you can draw from at any time. When the noise of the world becomes too much, remember the landscape of sound and your ability to be the sky that holds it all. When the mind begins its frantic storytelling, remember the empty boat and smile. When a difficult emotion arises, remember to meet it with the warmth of your own compassionate heart. When life feels overwhelming, remember the farmer's wisdom in the face of uncertainty, maybe. And when you feel lost, simply come back to the feeling of your own body, to the miracle of your own breath. This is always home. The journey we have taken is not from A to B. It has been a journey into the very heart of A. The far shore is this shore, seen with eyes that are finally open. You have already arrived. Thank you for the gift of your presence. May you be safe. May you be happy. May your heart be filled with ease. And may you walk in peace today and all the days of your life. Be well.